What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the After Effect Podcast Show. I'm your host, LeBron 7, but you can call me LBZ, L Boogie, Big Brian, B, Brian, LB, Ronnie. The choice is yours. Welcome to episode 75. We have a very special guest. Ex-League Pro cornerback Sean Draper is on the show today. Cleveland native, played his football at Glenville High School, is an alumni of Glenville High School, just like me, was a top recruit, cornerback / athlete, chose the University of Iowa to further his career in 2012, played there from 2012 to 2015. Yes, he was on the illustrious Rose Bowl team in 2015 and the Big Ten runner-up that season as well. From there, he went undrafted in 2016 NFL draft, went and played in the X-League over in Japan, started in Kobe, Japan, I believe, played there for 4 years, and now I think he's in his 6th season playing in Tokyo, Japan now. So, Sean's been over abroad for about 6 years now, so uber excited to get him on the show to discuss, his upbringing in Cleveland, his Glenville career, his Iowa career, and now, his career over in Japan, kind of carving out his own path in his own lane, right? So just send him the link, and once he jumps on, we will go.
A guy who came from Cleveland.
Okay, well, you ain't from Cleveland, though.
Cleveland was the best location in the nation.
We from Cleveland, Ohio.
Glenville community on the east side of Cleveland.
Cleveland was called the best location in the nation.
My God, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, what's up? Yeah, I'm
Good with you.
I'm good.
Good to see you, man.
Man, yeah. Shoot, long time.
I know, right? Yeah, bro, this is called the After Effect Podcast Show. I started it June of 2020. This is episode 75. It's my belief that all of us elite athletes, we all have an after effect or aftershock from our athletic journey. We talking about a 15 to 20 year with our respective sport relationship. And when it's all said and done, I've always felt like that transition was minimized when you got to go into the real world and figure life out, get a job and take care of your family and all that. And, when things don't work out, I've always felt like that was minimized. So this is just kind of a free and safe space for us to kind of relive the journey, talk about some good times and bad times, some lessons that we learned, and really just try to push the culture forward.
No doubt. I'm cool with that.
So yeah, man, we can dive right into it. I just got 2 current events. I know the playoffs coming up. Not now since '99. I've been a LeBron fan. So whether he with the Cavs or he with the Heat or he with the Lakers, I'm always rooting for wherever he at. But
yeah,
we Cleveland kids and the Cavs doing their thing this year, man. Playoffs coming up. So who you got taking it home this year?
Man, I'm pretty much the same. Like, obviously you watch LeBron for so long, so you can cheer for him wherever he goes. Some people might feel the way about it, but I feel like, I'm the same way. I feel like as a Clevelander, like you kind of like you got to root for LeBron.
Right.
So as it pertains to like NBA winning the championship, I mean, I would want to see the Lakers Cavs. I don't know what the percentage is for that, but that'd be ideal for me.
That'd be dope.
Yeah.
I mean, I just want to see the Cavs be competitive at least, get into that second round or maybe the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I ain't gonna hold you. Like the Cavs beating the Nets, especially when they get Ben Simmons, I can't foresee that, honestly, if you really know basketball. But I'm hoping that they at least competitive, or they don't got to play in the play-in, because I think they're like number 6 right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, we actually, today's the 13th. This actually today might be the 2-year anniversary that coronavirus was announced. It was like the 12th or the 13th or something like that in 2020. So we're literally at 2 years of just this world changing, man. So how have you had to grow, spiritually, physically, emotionally? Since we've been alive, we've never had to wear masks. The world has never shut down. Like we've never really walked through any of this, or our parents. So how did you find yourself having to grow? I know you were abroad, like when it happened.
Yeah.
You were out there in Japan. Yeah. So like. And I know I had heard that like in places like Japan and China, they had been like wearing masks like years ago. Like masks were like kind of a part of their everyday movement. So like how'd you find yourself having to grow like or adapt, like, what I'm saying, or in these last 2 years?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously being American, when I went to Japan and like, you know, when I would see people with masks on, like I thought it was weird, and I kind of like had my own opinions towards that. But you know, obviously being over there, I learned that a lot of times, like before the pandemic, pre-pandemic, people would wear masks. At least in Japan, they would wear masks. Like I guess when they were sick, and they just didn't want to like not go to work. Like they wanted to, you know, like that's just how they are. Like they're not getting sick days. They like just put the mask on. I just tough it out type thing.
Okay.
Or like, you know, if a kid is sick, you know, put a mask on, the kids wear it, whatever. But so when the pandemic started and like everyone was wearing masks in Japan, so at that point it was like, yeah, you know, you kind of had to adapt to that.
Just conform to it.
Yeah, but weirdly in Japan, they didn't lock down. But the people there, I think it's because the people in Japan, they kind of already have like a weird thing with like contact, like human contact, you know, like when you pay for food or you pay for things at stores, like you always put the money like in this tray, like you never like hand money over to someone.
Okay.
You know?
So they already their boundaries is already kind of there.
They kind of already have have a social like boundary thing already. They already had in their tradition, so they didn't necessarily shut down like completely. Only thing they did was they cut down hours at some point, like with like going to restaurants and they stopped serving alcohol for a little bit, you know, in certain spots because people like to drink out there. But other than that, like it wasn't really.
Did the football stop like when it was announced, or was it already off season?
Yeah, so that was where I say emotionally, like if I'm saying like, all right, so emotionally, I feel like spiritually, I feel like during that time period, football like completely stopped. We continued to like meet like with our teams like through Zoom, and like I would train like at home. Like I really started like putting a lot of time into my apartment at that time in Kobe, and I built up like a home gym in like one of my spare rooms, and just was like getting some workouts in there. So I feel like and physically. So if we're saying physically as well with the pandemic, I took meat out of my diet. Like I could tell you look a lot leaner. Yeah, I switched to like a vegan, like vegetarian style diet. And that's all, that's credit to my girlfriend, so like she's vegetarian. So like I'm just, I switched off on the meat, but it helped a lot with like energy. And so yeah, I think overall during the pandemic, I think it really just gave me some time to like, which I think most people had time to really just adjust their life a little bit, rather than things just going so fast and you just like, you're trying you like I've always been somebody who's able to like, manage my at least my health and things like that. But I think everything's slowing down and football stopping. They pushed the season back to October. Normally it starts in August, and we only had 3 games that year, the first year. But I think overall, I think it just helped me like manage it even more, because it was everything slowed down or stopped,
Yeah, no, I can totally attest to that. I mean, obviously I stopped playing in 2016, but just really not knowing the future, like how long it was going to be, when people could go back to work, was working from home going to be the normal, which is it's kind of starting to feel like it is, like all that kind of thing. But with you actively playing, I know it was kind of like, when were y'all gonna play again? When would you be able to start up again? Like it's kind of just like you taking it day to day, week to week. Yeah,
it was literally day to day, week to week. I'm like, I don't know if we're even gonna have a season. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna have to fly back. But so in result of the pandemic, I normally would only be out in Japan for like 5 months at a time, 5 or 4 months at a time, and then I would go back for a couple months, like in the summer and in the winter. But because of the pandemic, I was in Japan for like over a year. I was there for like a year and a half, like just like yeah, because I didn't know because they were changing the rules with the borders a lot, and it's still in Japan, you still can't, like tourists can't visit Japan still, like since the pandemic started. So for me, I was like, even though I had a visa, I'm like, I don't want to leave, and then like, things get weird and I won't be able to come back. So I was like, I'll just keep, grinding. It was like, it wasn't any football or any obligation. So it's like, like I just had to, be patient.
Right. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. I mean, I'm sure. I mean, I don't know how you are with family, but I'm sure if you used to seeing your family every like 5 to 6 months, and then you got to go a year and a half without seeing them. I mean, luckily you got FaceTime and all that, but that still could be like an emotional roller coaster for real, because you don't really know what the future holds.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely was. And then I was gonna say, like, events happen. If something happens or whatever, like, I mean, still to this day, like, I mean, now they changed the border. Like, if you have your booster shot, I think in Japan now the rules are, if you get your booster, you don't have to quarantine. But if you only have 2 doses, you have to do a 3-day quarantine. But at some point, like, they were having people like having to do a hotel quarantine for 14 days. Like, if you like, regardless, like, if you enter into Japan. So it was like, if something was happening at home with family or anything, you couldn't just, like, before if something was going emergency or something, you could fly back and get, go to the family emergency and you be right back, won't really miss too much of a beat. But like with the pandemic, it's like you couldn't just fly back, because like if you fly back, now you're sitting in a hotel for 14 days and that's like that's half of a month,
Right. It's a whole process and it's long. Yeah. No, that makes sense. So yeah, bro. Let's dive into your childhood, both Cleveland kids. I was born in '89, so I would presume you were born in what, 93?
94.
94? Okay. So just paint me a picture, bro, like on what it was like growing up for you, like, in the 90s. I always tell people, and I just turned 33 last week, but like I always say, we didn't grow up like the kids now. We didn't have YouTube, we didn't have I think the internet came out maybe in like 98, but you had to have money to even be able to afford a computer. And that was when I had to dial up and all that. So my parents, I didn't even get a computer to probably like '04 or something like that. So like we just grew up in a different world. I feel like the world was a bit more interactive. We used to be outside to the street light came on, we was playing, we was making up our own games, playing any bounce and hide and seek and all that. And the kids now, it's a lot different. So paint me a picture of what it was like from your viewpoint, growing up in the 90s. I'm 5 years older than you, so I'm not sure what area you grew up in and all that. I grew up in like Milesley Road, like 169th and Miles. That's where I lived for the most part of my life. So how was that experience for you?
I mean, I think for me, the most thing I can remember from growing up, like without technology as a kid, was, like you said, going outside. Like we would play, people got different names for it, but like down the man, or like where you just, it's like one person versus everybody.
We called it Dino Man.
With a football, you just outside, so we would play that, or it was really just, or riding bikes. I just have vivid memories of just being outside, just riding bikes. That was the main thing.
When did you start playing football?
So I didn't start playing till I was 9, which is pretty late. I feel like most people start a little bit earlier, especially.
I started at 8. I started at 8.
Like eight. Yeah. But only reason why I feel like it's late, probably because like my older brother Shane Bell, he started at 5, and then my younger brother Matthew Draper, he started at 5 as well.
Yeah, I didn't even know in the 90s they had teams that you could start at 5. Like when I found out about football at 8, only thing I knew was Muni. It was like Muni, Pee Wee, Banaway. So my father asked me if I want to play, and I wanted to play because everybody in the neighborhood was playing. But I never knew it was anything under 8.
Yeah, actually, I don't know. Maybe Shane didn't start at 5. I know Matt started at 5 for sure. But Shane, the reason why I started playing was my older brother Shane Bell. He East Cleveland Chiefs, and I just remember like me, Matt, like my mom, my uncles, and my grandfather, like we all were at the game. We were just watching the game, right? And I wasn't really paying attention to it too much. I think I was more fascinated. My grandfather, he had his binoculars. He just understands, like, watching the game. I was more fascinated with, like, trying to look through the binoculars, whatever. Mm-hmm. My younger brother, who was turning 5 at the time, I guess he was like super just interested in it. So we had moved. So I was born on Osceola and like Hopkins, like those was like the 2 streets, like right off Lakeview. And like for me, I was more interested in basketball. So my first sport was basketball. We bounced around a lot, like just throughout America, like in America, mostly in Ohio, Cleveland area. Like we bounced around in different areas. But when I started playing football, we actually moved to Columbus. We were living in Columbus at the time. So we went back. So we were just having to be home watching the East Cleveland Chiefs game, watching Shane. Then we came back to Cleveland, and Matt was telling my mom that he wanted to play football. So then my mom was like, well, if he's going to play, you got to play, because everybody else in our family has played football. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So that's how it started for me. I didn't really have a choice on that. But when I first started,
you just ended up being good.
Yeah, but honestly, like, so that's the thing. Like, yeah, I feel like I just happened to be good with it. But I think that when it first started, like, we played for this, it was a team called Midtown Panthers out here in Columbus, Ohio. and it was tournaments. I could vividly remember this. It was like tournaments before the season started, and during these tournament games, like I just sat on the bench the whole time. I didn't it was like I remember I got into a fight with somebody on the sideline. It was like I wasn't even like playing in the games. Like I wasn't like part of the team for real. But then after we're young, so like after the practice, we would race each other. Like people would, kids just outside racing and just playing around. So like whoever the best dudes on my team, like we would just be like outside playing, and like I would be like like beating them in race, or like like we would be later, we just playing around. Right. So then when the first game of the season started, we were blowing some team out. And I'm still on the sideline, and they were just like, it was like Draper, and they like called me in, and they put me at tight end, and we did like a reverse. And I just remember my first play, like I scored on like an 80-yard, something like, basically the whole field like touchdown. Yeah. And then from there, they just like kept putting me in. And it was just because like the other kids were just like, yeah, Draper's fast, like they were just like, like it was like one of those type things. But yeah, so then from there, I think I started to like me and my brothers, like we started to get into like collectibles, and we would collect like McFarlane, like action, like the sports figures, like I had like Priest Holmes, Mike Vick, all the top players.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I used to collect cards, like football and basketball cards.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I had the cards too. But I think that's when I started like really becoming like a fan of football. I like really tapped into like the collectible part of it.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. So then my father would take us to like the Browns training camps, and we would just like go watch the Browns training camps.
My dad's the same thing.
Yeah. You go to the Browns
every August. Right? Yeah. I remember getting gloves. For one of the cornerbacks one year. I was probably like 9 or 10.
Yeah. So that's where I feel like I started developing the love from it. Was just I became like a super fan of just like the sport. Yeah. And then
so yeah, like I started playing ball at 8, and then I started playing basketball just at the local rec at 9. But then when I was 10, my father took me to a St. Mary St. Joe's game. And that was my first time seeing LeBron James. Like I was 10, so Brown was like 14. He was in 9th grade because I was in 10th. I was in the 5th. And I remember sitting in the stands like, man, this dude, like, we got the same name. I knew he's from Akron, but Akron is like 25 minutes depending on where you live at. So I'm just fucking out. They was already saying he was gonna be he was the number 1 player in the country, only in 9th grade, all this. He went off. He had like 26, 10, and 8. He was only 14. So that's when the basketball bug really started getting me. Like I'm like, all right, man, I'm a hoop too. So ever since then, I always played football and basketball, pretty much all the way up until at the Ville, until one time with the Iowa. So I always kind of had a love for both sports, honestly. And it sounded like you did too.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely did. But I think at a certain point, I think the football, like, it just kind of like chose me a little bit more, because like I said, I moved around a lot. So when I moved I actually lived in Birmingham, Alabama, like 7th and 8th grade. That's where I played my 8th grade football, was in Alabama. And I played for a team called Huffman Raiders. I went to like this middle school called Smith Middle School. And when I was down there, football is everything. Like that's just like it was Alabama all rivalry. It's like people just love it. And
they love football.
And me being from Ohio, like we had Ohio State. That was like I would like brag with. But like if I say the Browns, like that, you're gonna get flat. They not gonna be like, man, y'all ain't playing football up. Y'all ain't playing football, this and that.
Right.
I actually remember in middle school, like I had some friends over from my middle school down in Alabama, and we was watching Glenville play Long Beach Poly. I was watching it on the TV on ESPN. I was like showing them like this. I'm going to this high school, like this. You know what I mean? That's how I'm going here, like whatever. But yeah, when I was down there, I kind of felt, obviously, like I felt a little bit out of place, but I feel like the only time, like when I started like making friends, and that's how I was most of the time when I would switch schools. I switched schools so much, like growing up. I went to like 6 different elementary schools. I went to 3 different middle schools. And then I went to, I ended up doing 2 high schools, because I ended up actually was at Cleveland Heights for the first semester of 9th grade. Grades was bad. And then my uncle caught wind of it through our coach Mark. It was Mark Jackson. He actually, not Mark Jackson. Mark, I forgot his last name, but Mark. He was the janitor, and he was also the coach. He was my receivers coach, but he was also like helping out at the track with the track team. And then he was like, yeah, I got this player. like he doing good. Like he scored every game. Like he a baller, but his grades bad. Like we can't get him. We ain't gonna be able to get him to no school. He not doing good in school. And then my uncle, Coach Tony Overton, he caught wind of it. He was like, that's my cousin. I mean, that's my nephew. You know what I mean? Like that's my nephew.
Yeah.
So he was like,
man, you're real.
Yes. So then from there, like literally the next semester, 9th grade, I got to transfer over. But I think football chose me because in 8th grade, when I was down in Alabama, like I ain't really had that many friends. And then the football, we started playing football a lot. And like I was, and then from there, it's like people was messing with me. But then I ended up getting, they was like, yeah, but we want to see like in pads. Like we want to see him in pads. Like y'all, we doing this, at recess and gym, but they ain't the same as pads. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my middle school at the time was like, oh, we might not have a team. So I was trying to play for the middle school, but they're like, we might not have a team. So I ended up playing for this local team called Huffman Raiders. And like I was on that team, people respected me, but I ended up getting hurt right in the first game. So I sat out the whole time, and I was getting like, it felt like people was like, just like, I don't know, it felt like the world was like, that was my first time being injured and not being playing games.
It felt like the world was going in.
Man, I'm like this. I don't know what's going on. It felt like everything was just like terrible. Right. But then the playoff came around in that 8th grade, and we was playing like the top team. There was a bunch of dudes from my school and top, like whatever, and a bunch of dudes from like other schools. So, they like the top team, and my whole middle school talking about it. Like, yeah, we gonna play. Y'all gonna play. You're like, yeah, you playing now too. You don't got, because I broke my wrist. So like, you don't got your cast on. We gonna be at the game. This and that. Whatever. It's girls. They like, yeah, we gonna be there. Whatever. And then we play. I remember I had like a pick. Like I was balling, and I remember when I got back to school, it was like everybody just like mess with me, and it was kind of like I felt like I feel like I always noticed that sports like did that for me, like growing up, but in that moment in 8th grade, because I felt like I was like, you becoming a teenager, I feel like that's when I was like, no, I need to take this serious. And like I said, then it went to the 9th grade situation. I did good at Cleveland Heights, but the grades was bad. And when I got to the Ville, I feel like that's when I got my structure. And it was okay, you mess with the football, we're gonna mess with the track, we're gonna make sure your grades right, and then you got Glenn talking, Glenn giving you the words,
give you all the game,
and giving you all the game.
Yeah. So, like, for you, when would you say that light switch hit on? Like, I always say this for all elite athletes. Now, some guys, it come late, and some guys, it come like middle school, 8th, 9th. For me, it was 10th grade. After my 10th grade season, starting varsity, making all league, like being like 3rd in the league in sacks, something like that at 15. That's when I kind of knew, like, oh, all right, like, started to get on letters. But then once I got my first offer, that's kind of when that light hit on, like, damn, all them Saturdays when I used to sit in front of the TV, and my dad used to go get McDonald's, and I used to put the newspaper on the living room floor, eat my little McDonald's, and watch all the games. Like, that's when the light switch turned on. Like, oh no, like I could really go do this. Like, I could probably really go play in the Big Ten. Of course, I want to play Ohio State. Of course, we all do. But it was a legitimate thing. Like, I could probably go play in the Big Ten. Maybe not Ohio State, but definitely another Big Ten school. So that's kind of what it hit on for me. And I really just started like taking everything super, super serious. Like, oh no, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna try to be like one of the best. So like, when was that for you? Was it 10th grade? Was it 11th grade? Because this is what people don't understand about Glenville. Everybody say they want to go to Glenville and this and that, but it's literally the most competitive environment. Like, I've been in a lot of environments, bro. You played at Iowa, like we play all the Big Ten schools. I played against a lot of NFL players, Hall of Fame guys, all of this. But that Glenville environment every day, like competitiveness, you talking about competing every day, like loads of talent, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that environment really, that's gonna make or break you. And everybody ain't ready for that, and everybody can't handle that. So like, when did that time come to you where it's like, oh no, like this probably gonna happen for me, like this probably gonna be a real thing, I could probably go play like legitimate ball?
Yeah, so I mean, I would say it was probably my junior year, like the end of my junior year, like going into the summer, going into my senior year, like when I was like, all right, I know I'm gonna be D1. I know this could probably turn into something else, like you said, like at Glenville, like it's super competitive. So once I transferred my 9th grade, the second semester of 9th grade, like I got real tight with my friend Devin Bogart. He recently passed away, but like that was like my first friend.
Rest in peace, Devin.
Yeah, that was my first friend at Ginn Academy. We was in Jeff Ginn, Jeff Ginn's linkage coordinator group, and
it was you and like Justin Hardy. I was all in the same.
Yeah, we was all the same year, but in that 9th grade, like me and Justin got cool that year too. But it was like, I think it went Devin, then it went Justin. Like right after that, like me and Justin got cool. But like in that environment, I feel like all of our friendships was based on competition. Like it was like we were real, like, I don't know, we always been like real critical, like we would critique each other, and like we weren't afraid to like call each other out when it was like somebody was wrong. I think in that environment, I felt like it was healthy. It was like always healthy competition. But I think that 10th grade was cool. I played JV and dress bars, but that was the year we went to state, and I appreciated that experience the most because
that was gonna be my next question, but I couldn't remember what grade you was in, because I remember all of us that was in college, like I think we ended up coming to one of those playoff games. I don't think it was the final. Well, y'all made it to the state championship, right, or the Final Four?
Yeah. We went to the states. My 10th grade.
Yeah. And y'all lost by 1 point, right, in the state.
Yeah, 1 point to Hillary Davis.
Yeah. I think we went to like the third round game or something where y'all won, because it was like one of our breaks. Yeah. But like being in 10th grade, what was that like, bro? Like, because that's one of the things that they always talk about in Cleveland. Like, Coach Ginn, he sent all these kids to school, but they never like make it down to state. That's people. I always hear people talking about that. Now we know, because we've been in the program. Ginn don't care about that. He want to change guys' lives and like put guys in positions to be able to take care of themselves and their family later on. So the winning and going down state, that's like the last thing on his agenda. But what was that like actually being there? I know you said you was in 10th, so you didn't have like a prominent role, but just being a part of that team, like what was that like?
I mean, it was special, and I like I said, I was in 10th grade. I was like I said, I was JV. I was just dressing at the time, but like I told you, like my best friend was Devin Bogart, and he was starting linebacker in the state championship game. And then he started and then my older brother Shane Bell, he was starting receiver. Like he was on the outside at receiver.
Yeah, I remember Shane. It was him. The other Shane Wynn.
So with that being said, now obviously my uncle being there, it kind of felt like, I don't know. That was like in that year, it felt like it was like everybody. It was just like a family, and I felt like the senior class that year was so tight. And like
Cardell senior, Cardell Jones.
No, Cardell was a junior. It was Christian Bryant.
Okay.
Like Twan Anderson, guys like that. It was like that. Okay. That was that. J. Ron Elliott. Yeah.
See that kind of shit make me feel old, because my 12th grade year, Christian Bryant and J. Ron was in the 9th grade.
Yeah.
Like they was following me around, like looking up to me, and now they see us like that. Every time I hear that didn't feel old.
that was a year. So that was the senior class there. Aaron Morris. It was like all those guys were seniors. So like those. So was it Tony Foster was one of the running backs? It was a bunch of that, but that whole class, it felt like they were serious, but it felt like they understood, like they really understood the assignment. They understood what needed to get done. Right. And in our class, that 10th grade class, because at DeVille, I feel like 9th grade you play JV. If you play varsity in 9th grade, then you special. But if you play JV, if you start JV as 9th grade, I feel like you special. At DeVille. And then in 10th grade, I feel like this is the mentality. I feel like in 10th grade, you're supposed to start, JV. And if you start or you play on varsity, then you special, Right. And then by your junior year, you should be starting varsity. Right. And senior year, you should, whatever. So I feel like, so like as 10th graders and us being like, everybody felt like they was in the right place, you starting playing on JV, whatever. I felt like we were looking up to that senior class like heavy, and it was like, and to see their leadership throughout that whole year and the way they approached everything, and we were playing like we were like the talent that we were going against. It was, I don't know, it was just crazy. It was so many moments during that year that I was just like, I was literally just a sponge, just soaking up like everything. It all in.
Yeah. I can only imagine. No, you're right though, because my senior year, it was only one 10th grader that started or really even played, which was Marcus Hall.
Yeah.
And that's
like. And that's normally how it is.
And like you say, like he a dog, but he was like the only one. Everybody else was either junior, senior. We had a couple of 10th graders, Travis Freeman. We had a couple of 10th graders that was like on special teams and shit like that. But for the most part, because like you said, the field's so competitive, man. Like you got to earn, scratch, and claw for anything, especially being a starter.
Man, so that's the energy. So that's the energy, and and I don't think that was ever. I mean, it probably was something that was spoken around to us, the players. But I feel like I never really had too many conversations about that. I just felt like that was the energy. Like ninth grade, if you play, you know what I mean? Like that was
right.
the steps. Of,
that was kind of that's the infrastructure. Yeah, that was the steps that you take. Right.
And
you
kind of know where
you
going. You kind of know where you're gonna end up offer wise, or like depending on how much you play in each stage, of high school.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. So, man, talk about your recruiting process when you started to get heavily recruited. Like, if you can remember, who was your top 3 or top 5? What visits did you take, and then ultimately, why did you choose University of Iowa?
Yeah, so my recruiting process was late, like I said. So I played at highest ninth grade, so I didn't play at the Bill my ninth grade year. So and then 10th grade, obviously I started JV and dress bars. And then junior year, my 11th grade year, I started kick return, but that was it. Like I pretty much sat on the bench the whole year behind Shane Wynn. Like I wasn't trying to, I wasn't like, I would play defense, but I was more so trying to play slot receiver. Mm-hmm. And I enjoyed the whole, process of being behind Shane Wynn, just because of he just special, you know what I mean?
He's dog. Yeah.
And it was so many different things that from just watching and being around him, I felt like I learned how to work and just how seeing the way he's a smaller guy, so the elusiveness of his game was something
how he used to run routes. Yeah,
it was always something I wanted to imitate a little bit as an offensive player, but as it pertains to my recruiting process, it kind of hit. I kind of took a hit on that end because, it was senior year. He's been starting since a freshman. He was a freshman returner, whatever. Yep. So I didn't really get much reps, And I remember it vividly. Me and Justin, because Justin played receiver too at the time. I remember we was both not getting it. I remember it was just games. We would just be crying. We'd just be on the bus, just in tears, we want to go to college,
Right.
So that's how. So that's how my junior year went. But then we ran track that year, and I think I won state 4x2. I was on the state 4x2 indoor, and I took tracks real serious that year, and I just took that momentum into the summer, and I went right into camps. And my mom made sure that I was able to get to camps every week. If it was, maybe twice.
Did y'all do the Gens tour that year, or
no? It wasn't no Gens tour. It was no Gens tour. So we kind of had to make the initial. And Gen would show up to the camp stuff, you know what I mean. Okay. Once you signed up for it, he would make sure he got there, but they just didn't have the bus that year. So it was kind of you kind of had to get it out the mud and just go.
Yeah. You had to hit the camp circuit yourself. You had to,
yeah. So my mom had a van. My mom had a big van, big blue van, whatever, and we would just go. Be me, my brothers. It would be sometimes we would have Alex Pace, or it would be Willie Henry. It would just be different people that was in my class, and we would all just go together and go to different spots. I was hitting them every twice a week or something like that, the whole summer, maybe sometimes, maybe more than that sometimes. But the first camp was Ohio, and I did offense and defense, ran a good 40, ran shuttle. I always been good at testing, and got an offer immediately. And then every camp after that, it was literally we go Toledo, Akron, you hitting all the MAC schools, and every time I go to camp, I would get an offer. Yeah, it was
and that's why it used to be so great, man. Coach Gann doing that Gann tour, because I had a couple of MAC offers mid junior year, but man, when we all went on that camp tour before our senior year, that's when all the just a bunch of guys got all the MAC and started, all those Big Ten started rolling in.
Yeah.
So that's dope that y'all kind of initiated that yourselves and you said, got it out the mud for it.
Yeah, no, and it was good. And like I said, I feel as it kept going on, I built up my base of offers of MAC schools, and then the season came around, and during the season, I got a Hawaii offer, and at that time, Mike Edwards, he was he had just got out there at Hawaii, and I was sold at that point, because I just remember going to games and seeing him play, he was special.
Yeah.
So
especially at Hawaii, and just the atmosphere, what I'm saying,
and that too, So that was like my, and then so at that time during the season, my two options, like my two schools that like I was most interested in the MAC, like obviously Toledo had history of just being good during that time, and I remember I think Justin was like interested in Toledo at the time because of Cordell Scott, and then but Shane Bell, my older brother, he was playing at Ball State, so
I think T.O. was killing that at Toledo at the time too.
Yeah, he was at Toledo too.
Lefty, yeah,
Yep. And I remember seeing him at versus. We went to like was it like a junior? I forgot what they used to call it when they would like invite like players, even before like offers, they would invite you like to go watch like Ohio State games or something like that. And it was like Ohio State versus Toledo. And I remember watching T.O. play. I
remember that game. They had a yellow spat and all that.
Yeah. So
that's my dude.
So for me, my top at that time during my senior year season was Hawaii and Ball State and Toledo. It was Hawaii, Ball State, Toledo.
Ball State had that pipeline.
Yeah. Well, Ball State had Travis. It had, you know what I mean? It had,
Aaron Moore. It was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And then Jay Newton.
I think he ended up transferring
after Ohio State. Deion was at Ball State, then he left and went somewhere else. Yeah, it was a bunch of them though. Okay.
Yeah, it was so I would go up there a lot, and honestly, Ball State felt more like home just because like my older brother was there. So I was kind of like teetering between that, and then obviously the people at Toledo, and then like the Hawaii thing was just more so just because like I felt like in that recent like 4-year span of like cornerbacks and athletes, I feel like just seeing Mike Edwards, I was like, oh yeah, it'd be dope to like be able to be under him,
right?
You know
and
what I mean?
And then potentially come after him.
Yeah, exactly. So then the season ended. Once the season ended, I was like, my first official, I was like, I'm gonna go to Hawaii first for the official, my first official. Yeah. And honestly, I was like, in my mind, I'm like, I'm probably gonna end up committing here just because I always said I wanted to kind of go to school like somewhere a little bit further out. And the official was really good. I went with Willie Henry, and Mikey was my host for a little bit. He had a game though, so he wasn't with me like the whole time, but he was my host. While I was down there watching the game, my uncle called me and he was like, yeah, we like they already sent your highlight tape out. He was like, you got Iowa, you got Louisville, you got Pitt, and it was just like basically like it was schools just like starting to roll in, the bigger schools rolling in after the highlight tape got sent out.
Okay.
And immediately in my mind, I'm like, I think I was most excited about like the Louisville. I can't really remember why I was like, I wanted to kind of like see what the Louisville thing. I think it was probably they had all black coaching staff. That
was before Lamar Jackson got there, right?
Yeah, that was before. That was like Teddy Bridgewater.
Okay.
Charlie Strong, and those guys. So it was kind of it was starting to look cool. It was like looking at at that time. But so I actually was gonna set that official up next, but then I think I got the dates wrong, and I end up meeting Parker first, Coach Parker.
So you met Phil before you met Ken O'Keefe?
Yeah, I met Phil Parker first. I met Phil Parker first.
I met Ken O'Keefe first.
Yeah, I was leaving. I was already gone. Like, so I was doing half a day at Gann Academy and at Tri-C. It was like a program called High Tech. Early college program. Yeah. So I had already left school, and Gann called me. He was like, you gotta go back to Gann Academy and you gotta meet with this coach. I'm like, okay. So I get there and Phil Parker's in there, and he's just asking me about like geometry and like just talking about the, I do the length, what's the length of the field, and like asking you like specific questions about like, I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm just sitting there, I'm like, I don't know this stuff, like whatever.
Just on the back of your head.
Yeah. So the first conversation with Phil Parker, it was honestly, it didn't seem like it went well at all. It didn't seem like we kind of even got any type of like connection, whatever. Yeah. So I'm just like, all right, I don't really see nothing coming from that, whatever. And then I think like a little bit after that, who was it? Coach Campbell. You remember Coach Campbell? He was like receivers coach.
Yeah. We used to call him Soup.
Yeah, Soup. Yeah, he came up to the school, and then I think he was the one who actually officially gave me my offer. Was him. He came up to the school.
So they must have changed it, because when I came out, Coach O'Keefe recruited the Ohio, Pennsylvania, that whole area.
Yeah. So I think I for sure met him. I think he definitely either came to my house at some point or like whatever. Okay. But the first person I met was Phil, and then the second person that came to school,
Campbell, was
Sue. And when I met him, I was like, okay, like, you know what I mean? I met Sue, I'm like, cool. cool, like whatever, you know. And he was trying to get me a receiver because you know, I was playing both. So all the schools that like I was getting recruited by, they gave me the option between receiver and corner or DB. And he wanted me to play receiver.
Yeah,
and I was
he was
like,
a dope receiver coach too.
Yeah. So like for me, I was like, cool. I was like, I'll play receiver, but I kind of like at that time, because of the fact I had to like kind of, I don't know, like it might have, I think now, like looking back on it as, you know, older adult, I think it was kind of like I really definitely had some ego and pride things going, where it was like, because I had to sit my junior year and I didn't get many, you know, whatever. And then I had to switch to DB. I was kind of like, you know what, I'm just a DB. Like you know what I mean? Like I'm still playing receiver. I'm still doing this, whatever, because, you know, obviously I enjoy it and I love playing offense. But in my mind, pridefully, I was like, you know, I didn't, you know, I don't want to be sitting behind people or whatever. I want to just like see if I could force my way in, because defense, you could be a little bit more aggressive. So when Soup was like, and, you know, was telling me about receiver, I was like, you know, I'm saying, yeah, but like ultimately when I got there, like I'm playing DB. But my top three ended up, you know, so then I went to Louisville. Louisville was good. Only thing with Louisville was when we spoke with Louisville's coaches, my uncle asked Charlie Strong, like, if the NFL, if somebody offers you more money, like, are you going to stay? And he's like, obviously, if somebody offered me, you know, a certain amount of money, like, I got to take that, whatever. And ultimately, that's what he did. Well, in my tenure in college, he ended up switching and going to Texas. So that was kind of like, I enjoyed it, but it was kind of like, you know, I kind of knew that wasn't going to happen just because they was having too much success, and he was already like kind of like, you know, halfway out the door. And then I went to Pittsburgh, and I actually loved my Pittsburgh visit.
That was when Aaron Donald was there.
Yeah. So me and
we played Pittsburgh. We played Pittsburgh that 2011 season. And actually, I just remember hearing a lot about Aaron Donald, but he didn't do much versus we played my senior year.
Yeah, so Pittsburgh, I loved that. I loved it. It was amazing, honestly. And, you know, I was really interested in that. And then right after I finished my Pittsburgh visit, during that time period, Coach Urban Meyer, you know, he had just got into at O State as the coach, and they had a coach. His name was Coach Johnson. I can't remember his first name, but his name was Coach Johnson. He was like a black DB coach at O State prior to Urban, and he used to come to the games all the time for Devin, and he was always at the camps, and like I would always talk to him too. And then you know, he during the season he was always like, yeah, we might have a spot. Like that's all he would say to me, like during the season, my senior year.
They tell me the same thing.
Yeah, that's how he would tell me, like, we might have a spot, this and that. I'm like, all right, whatever. Like I'm not gonna get my hopes up, but like whatever.
You
and
know,
then, like,
I think naturally we do though. We still
you definitely get
in the back of your mind. You hoping like, man.
To me, I'm keeping the straight face. I'm like, I ain't gonna get too excited because whatever. But like in my mind, I'm like, obviously, like, you know, like my the first time I played football was in Columbus, Ohio. So like when I became a super fan, obviously Ohio State was like right in my back door at that time. Course. Yeah, you know, and then being from the Ville like area, being right in that lake, it's like how can I not? All my family played at Glenville. It's like you know, it's kind of like it's, you know what it is. You probably say it, but you're not trying to like say it too much. Like at that time, you're like, I don't know if it's gonna be a possibility, whatever. But yeah. So then after my fourth official Pitt, that's when Urban I guess contacted again. He said that like they was gonna have a spot, or they was gonna try to get me in there with Devin. And I would talk to him at the track practices. Like he would call up there, and, you know, having long talks. Urban Meyer was telling me like, you know, they're gonna get a spot. They got a spot they're gonna try to get from me. He's like, but when we get you on the official, like we're gonna need you to commit. Like we can't, like, you know, you can't wait, like, because we basically making room for you type. And then right before the week or whatever to do the official, Coach Johnson leaves and goes to Arkansas. And then from there it was like, I guess, you know, it's a whole different reevaluation period. And you know, I guess my name didn't go back across the desk again. And from there it's like I, you know, kind of had to choose at that point. So I'm like, Pitt, I love that Pitt visit. Iowa at the time, I was like, I was interested in a lot of it, and it surprised me more. I feel like it surprised me more than anything because I didn't really know too much about like the history, you know, about being an Iowa football player. But going on that official with my mother, like I feel like I was really interested in it. It was like it was way cooler than I expected because of the first conversation I had with Phil Parker, how it went. I was kind of like I wasn't expecting it to be, you know, as good. And I think that was actually I actually went during it was your senior year
Yeah,
banquet.
it was okay,
I think it was like during the banquet. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So
It's weird that I got a pretty good memory, but I don't remember us connecting. Like they didn't
no,
connect.
we didn't.
Yeah,
And they
but
didn't say nothing either. So it was kind of like I
and
didn't
you
even
know
like.
what? It's funny now that I think back on it. I think I realized that why they didn't, because 2011 it was a crazy year because it was three of us still on the team, me, Bruce Davis, and Woody Lowe. But Will got caught up with the rhabdomyolysis thing earlier that year with Chris Doyle, and he ended up quitting like because of that. And then Bruce quit like the second season after like the Iowa State game. So I was literally like when I went to Iowa, we was trying to be that secondary pipeline under Ohio State because it was five of us. It was me, Bruce Davis, Willie Lowe, Derek Smith, Arvell Nelson. It was five of us. So we like, we gonna be this next pipeline. It was five of us there at one point. And then I ended up being the only guy to finish. Like, I started my senior year, but I was the only guy that finished in the program. So I think that's probably why. Because I remember I'm just like, man, we went to the same high school. Why wouldn't they connect me with him? I'm a senior. I'm a starter. Like, yes, I'm about to leave, but I still did 4.5 years in this program. I did 5 years in this program. So I thought that was weird that they didn't connect.
Yeah, because because in my mind I kind of knew you were there and like who went to, like, honestly I didn't know prior to like the offers and all that, because like I said, I didn't research Iowa enough until I went. But once I went, somebody in the neighborhood was telling me about it. Like I was training up at Bump Taylor, and somebody was up there. Somebody's father was up there, and they was telling me about like who was there and like and who was there prior. And they was just telling me about it, and I was like, oh, I didn't even know all of this, But so then when I went. I actually went with Alex Pace. We went on our official together, and I remember seeing. I actually do vivid. I have like a picture of seeing you, because I remember once I peeped, I was kind of like, dang, like he went to the Ville. But then I'm like, I don't know. Still, I think in a way for me, I'm still in high school, so like seeing like a senior college football player,
right,
like you still kind of look way like older, and like like I ain't really trying to approach you like
right. Yeah. No, I get you, man.
So I was just like, it was like, I guess like I'll probably get to talk to him at some point.
Who hosted you on your visit?
Who was with me?
Well, who hosted you? Like, what football player?
Jordan Lomax.
Okay.
So he's a year older than me. Yeah, so I had Jordan Lomax as my.
Lomax is cool dude. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah. So then me and Lomax ended up being in the same senior class, because my freshman year he got hurt. But yeah, that's different.
And you didn't redshirt.
Yeah, I didn't redshirt. So
okay.
So yeah, so basically I had to choose between. I was going to choose between. My choice. I'm just gonna say my choices at the time. Top three, I was just gonna choose between the officials that I went on. It was the 4 teams that I went officials, and I really liked Louisville the most. Like from just like the idea of being there, and like they kind of ran like a track style. They was telling me like they workout regimen. They were saying like they like to do a lot of like running on the track and sprint work and stuff like that. And I feel like it kind of like matched like my style of play. But the fact that we didn't know if the coaching staff was gonna be there for that long, it's kind of like rolling dice.
It was uncertainty,
yeah. So I had to kind of X them out because of that. And then in the Hawaii situation, I was still interested in it. And I think that was probably, I'll say that was still in my top 3. And then it was Pitt, and then it was Iowa once Ohio State fell out of place when the cornerbacks coach left. And then from there, I was, I ultimately, me and Willie Earl Henry, we actually went again. We told him like we were gonna go to Pitt. We like, yeah, like right before Sunday, we like, yeah, I think we just gonna go to Pitt. We both enjoyed our visit there, this and that. And then basically he had like a long talk to us about like just comparing apples and oranges. He's like, yeah, like Big Ten is like a bigger stage, like this and that, whatever. And at the time I didn't really take that. I was like, all right, like, it's again. So it's like, I'm listening to whatever he say. Cause I mean, he hasn't said nothing wrong. He ain't said nothing wrong this entire time I've been there. So I'm just like, whatever, obviously I wanted to play with like some of my other teammates that, I was left with. But
that's crazy though. So y'all initially wanted to go to Pitt, but Earl ended up going to Michigan, and you ended up going to Iowa.
Because Earl got Michigan late, and then the Iowa thing was kind of late too. So it was just like we didn't really have that much time to to really sort everything the right way. So once we did do the Pitt thing, it was more off the feeling. It was like the feeling of it. We was just like, it felt like more like it's 2 hours away from home. It felt like more like comfortable, And for me, I felt like I went to that was actually the one camp that I went to that summer going into my senior year that I didn't get an offer, but I got from them. But I got offered from other people at the camp, other coaches at the Pittsburgh camp, but Pitt didn't give me one directly until after the season. And from there, I was like, oh, bet. And then I went on official, and they had a new coaching staff, and it was like, yeah, like we really want you, this and that, whatever. And it felt right. It felt right to me at the time. And then like when I spoke again, like he kind of gave me a different perspective of it. And I'm like, okay. And then I had to shoot Pitt down. And then for whatever reason, I still didn't like officially shoot Louisville down or something. So on my signing day, Iowa sent their paperwork, and Louisville sent their paperwork. And Louisville was like, I want them to put both paperworks in front of you. But then, again, wasn't doing that. He like, no, you're not doing it. We already decided that the coaching staff ain't gonna be there. You know what I mean? Like, you go with the solid. And he had a good connection with Phil Parker and the coaches there. And then obviously what you were telling me, y'all were already there. And he kind of was telling me like that, like he kind of wanted me to go there. He was like his thing was he wanted me to go there and kind of like just be a good dude and just like kind of like I guess like showed him a different perspective of like whatever whatever was going on, because I didn't really know what was going on, so it's like that was just like told me.
And see, no, bro, like that's the thing. That's why I wanted to talk to you about it, because like I'm surprised that Ginn even wanted you to go there, because nobody really had no success like before. Nobody before you really had success coming out of Iowa, pretty much except me. Like I was the only one that actually started a whole season, and what I mean, and finished what I started. Basically, everybody else ended up either got kicked out or they ended up just quitting because of how they were being treated. So that's what was surprising to me. I just thought like he would have talked you into going somewhere else. So like you said, if you and Earl was gonna go together to Pitt, then y'all do that. It was a surprise. Now the Michigan move for Earl makes sense because Frank was already
it makes so much sense.
Frank was already there killing. Frank was already there.
So much sense.
You know what I mean? But,
so at first when he said to Willie, I was kind of like, when he was telling Willie about it, I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And then for me, it was kind of like I also had Illinois in the Big Ten. Indiana was actually interested. They came to my house and they was trying to offer.
Okay. And Justin was Illinois. Justin was Illinois your year, right?
Yeah. So since Justin had Illinois and D'Angelo Bentley had Illinois.
Oh, okay.
Like it could have been three of us there. But yeah, for whatever reason, like we was explaining it, like I felt like Ginn was just sold on Iowa, like for me. And for me, I ain't really like, I don't really know why in my mind, but when
that's why I love hearing people explanation, because I got the same explanation. Nobody really like once again say something like you said. We all gonna listen, so it's kind of like it's not that like you don't have an opinion in the matter, but it's almost kind of like you just persuaded to go because of what Ginn be saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But you're not fully I can't say I was 100% sold on Iowa. I just Ginn was so sold on them, so I'm just like, all right.
Yeah, and like I said, I don't put like none of the whole responsibility on Ginn either, because I could have, it's my decision, so I could have probably like vetoed and be like, nah, like whatever it is. I feel like I didn't really have. I feel like also like looking back in hindsight, I feel like I just didn't have enough time. Like I didn't have enough time to like really like have real conversations with my mother and my family, and like I didn't, I was trying to sort it out on my own, but it like during that time period, it was also a lot of other stuff going on, like in my like home situation. It wasn't personal. You know what I mean? They kind of like, for me during that time period, it was like again, say this, like for me in my mind, I'm like he probably didn't observe something, or he probably knows something that like I don't know. So I'm just like it is what it is, and hopefully this thing work out somehow. Like,
right. Oh yeah, no, I got you. So man, like I remember my transition being in 2007. Yours 2012. But talk about your transition, you know what I'm saying, going from the inner city of Cleveland, 113th St. Clair, to Iowa City, Iowa, Hillcrest dorms. It's just I always tell people, it's a completely different life. And that transition always ain't easy for everybody. Like it took me a couple months to just get used to being in an environment with a lot of white people. I had never, growing up where we grew up, I never even had a conversation with a white woman. Like only white people I ever met was probably the teachers, a couple of teachers, growing up in CMSD. And, when we used to play like St. Ignatius football, basketball, stuff like that. But that was pretty much it. Like, so how was your transition? It seemed like your transition was pretty seamless because like you said, you didn't redshirt that year, you actually played. So what
Yeah.
was it like? Give me an inside look on that. What was your transition?
I mean, for me, it was all right. So as it pertains to like race and like just just being in a white environment and growing up in a predominantly black neighborhood, I feel like the school part was the part that was more so like and then obviously the football, the football and school part was like what was like the culture shock part of it. And then also like for me, like actually my grandmother's white. Like my grandmother is like half Irish, half Italian.
Okay.
So like coach my uncle, Coach Tony Overton, my mom, and my uncle Timmy, like they all have, so so like growing up, like my grandmother, Donna Overton, she lived with us, like, or we lived with them, like on Hopkins, and like she was like the closest person in my family until she passed away when I was in 10th grade.
Okay.
And we would go see my auntie Ruth Ann, her sister, but like a lot of her family, like on the Italian side, like we weren't really like too tight, like we didn't really see them as much. But like I would be with my grandmothers. We would have like my white cousins sometimes come over. Also, like my father, Christopher Draper, he married my mom when I was 1, and he's half black, half Thai. So like my grandmother on that side, Christmas is Asian, so it's like Thai.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And then
Yeah,
but my grandfather on both of them is is black. You know what I mean? And then my my actual biological father, he's black too. So I wasn't really like, me and my biological father, we're not that close. But like my grandmother on that side and my cousin and stuff, like I would see them way more. I count on one hand how many times like I done probably been with my actual biological father. But like I was around my family on that side a lot too. So I feel like growing up, I always had like a base of like diversity.
Okay, you already had a base of it. Yeah. See, I was just always around all black people. Like
So
my whole life.
But like I grew up in the inner city, so it's like everywhere I went to school, all black kids. It's like like I'm black. Like I'm like out of my family. Like they all light skinned. It's only me and Matt and probably Chris Overton, my cousin, who like we like darker in our family. But like other than that, like I feel like I had like I felt my view of diversity and people, like I wasn't really too judgmental as it pertained to like people like being different race just because of family. But that's where the shock really hit me hard, because like, and I think it hit me like even hard. Like I can't compare it to you or somebody else, but I feel like it hit me real hard at Iowa at some point, because I feel like my introduction to like race and like differences and stuff like that was through family. And I feel like with family, it's kind of like it's all love. It's all unconditional love. Whereas like when you go to somewhere else and like certain people, they ain't never seen black people and you ain't their family and it ain't whatever it is. Exactly. It's a whole, you know what I mean? It's a different vibe. It's a whole different vibe. It's a whole different vibe. And then like you said, like you grow up in the inner city, you grow up poor. Like it's like like we like all right, I had diversity in my family, but I ain't had no money, so it's like I still was like so when I get to Iowa, there's a bunch of people
still don't speak that language. They don't speak
I don't
language.
speak none of that.
We're not from the same culture. We're not from the same culture. We're not the same.
At all. Like so like when you get there, it's like I don't know, it's like it's just a bunch of stuff that's just like and I feel like I tried to be open-minded a lot, just because of my family history. And it was just like, but I feel like in a way it's just a lot of times it's just like when you see people and they see, like if I see somebody and they see me, like they're not gonna know my family history. It's just like I'm black, like you know what I mean? Right. So it's like whatever stereotypes come with that is just gonna come with it. Right. And I don't know. I feel like that was like one of the biggest things for me was like I feel like I always was like aware, and my family always kept me aware of like race and like things like that. But I feel like when I got to Iowa, I experienced a lot of things that like I was told before was like an action about race and like how certain people might not like you, certain people might be raised a different way from you, and whatever. I feel like I kind of just learned how the world viewed me, like being in Iowa and being alone on my own. And
oh yeah, no doubt. So yeah, man, like I said, you was there from 2012 to 15, about 30 tackles, 9 PBUs, 1 pick. You were on that Rose Bowl team. I think that was your senior year on that magical Rose Bowl team. Just talk about, man, some moments that stand out. My redshirt sophomore year, we went 11-2 when we went to BCS Bowl. We won the Orange Bowl. We were Big Ten runner-up that year after Ohio State, just like y'all were that year. I think Michigan State beat y'all. We lost Ohio State overtime in the shoe. So I know with being on those kind of teams feel like. I know what
Yeah,
that's like, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Being a part of stuff like that, I understand it. So just give me an inside look. Talk about kind of that year, the diaspora, the team. How did
yeah,
you deal with those adversities? I know that you wanted to start more, play more.
yeah,
I've talked to obviously like when I was there, Kirksey, Carl Davis, all those guys were my dudes. Don Shepard, those were like my young dudes. Like
yeah,
I always tried to show them the way and show them how to kind of migrate through the Iowa football program because it's not easy. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So and I feel like once you got there, you viewed them as the older guys, and I know they did a good job of showing you how to migrate
yeah,
through the
yeah,
program.
most definitely.
Yeah, yeah. So just talk about all those feels, during your career and then that 2015 season.
Yeah, so when I first got to Iowa, that's the first summer. No money, super poor. I lived in a house with Damon Bullock, Cody Sokol, Jordan
Precious Lloyd.
Canzeri, yeah, right. Jordan Canzeri, Jake Hill was it Jake Hilly? Who else stayed? I'm telling you, it was 10 of us in his house. Quentin Austin,
Yeah, I used to go.
Nico
I used to
Law.
I used to go pick up Bullock from that house, like
Yeah, so it was
because when he
a bunch
first
of
when he first came to Iowa, he used to be like late to practice, like,
yeah,
and
yeah,
everybody thought he was talented. The coaches loved him, but he just wasn't good with time. So I started
yeah,
picking him up, taking him to
yeah.
the training table, taking him to the house, like all that.
Yeah. So it was me and Jaleel Johnson. We were the freshmen in that house. And yeah, so that first summer it was kind of rough, but like Nico and a couple of those guys, like they kind of like I remember Cody, Jay, everybody just kind of like was just like looking out, whatever, and just trying to make sure we was good.
Mhm.
Our first summer, and then I actually crashed Jordan Canzeri's moped into Jaleel. Jaleel was parked on his moped, and I was like going full speed, like it was like all
In the
the whole
summer during
in the
the
summer.
fall? This is
In
the
the
summer.
summer. This is before the fall. This is before I suited up in Iowa.
This is
Anything.
before training camp.
This is the first summer because our class
And
was like,
Kanzeri was like the start running back, right?
yeah, he was. No, but he had just got hurt too, so he was kind of like, I think he was
I remember
rehab, but he was.
he started in our bowl game.
Yep,
but
yep.
but he had just got on the field because we had so many running backs go out. They were injured.
Yeah.
Too. Okay.
Yeah. So that summer, honestly, from the jump, my class, my freshman class coming in, like we got real tight. Like I'm talking about black, white, it didn't matter. Like we was all like together. And then I think for me, I feel like I like I said, before I got there, I watched film on everybody recruiting. I watched all the recruiting videos and, seeing everybody's highlights. So when I got there, like, I didn't care, like, where you from? It's just like, I know who I was like, oh, this person is like a baller, this person a baller. And like, we would speak about that. So then like from the jump, like since we all got close, like it was George Kittle, Tavon Smith, it was just a bunch of people in that class. And
y'all had a strong class.
Oh, we had a class. We definitely had a class. Yeah, so we just all was like, all right, let's just all like hang out. So it was like, all right, well, who got mopeds and who don't? And we like structured that, and like it was like all 30 of us would just get on mopeds and just ride around Iowa City like that first summer, and that was just so fun, like just like hanging out, riding around.
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah.
And as a freshman, that first summer they kind of like give you slack on conditioning, like they don't let you, like you're not doing the same amount of like reps as like the older dudes, whatever, because they trying to like slowly bring you into it. So we would finish conditioning and we would be like, man, like y'all want to go ride out? And they'd be like, yeah, let's ride out. And it would be like all 30 of us would just get on bikes and we rode out. And I remember that night it was like we tried to ride to like the lake for whatever reason, and there's no lights on this street to get to the res. It's like there's no lights. It's like dark. It's one road going this way, it's one road coming back this way. And I remember it was deer on the side of the road, and like the whole like freshman group went to like look at the deer. And for me, I'm like, I don't really care about deer. It's like that ain't, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like I don't really care for it. So I'm just like, I'm gonna keep riding, and I'm just riding along, whatever. And then a car comes by. I remember vividly, it was a white car came by on the other side of the road. It was coming by fast around the corner, and it was dark out. So I was like, oh snap, like I don't want them to get hit or nothing. So I'm like just like riding, but I'm like looking back, and I'm like, hey, get out the road. And I'm like, tell them get out the road. And then I guess Jalil's just parked. for whatever reason, I don't know, he was parked in the middle of the road, and I'm like looking back, telling him to get out the road, and I just hit like this rail on the back of his bike, and you know, 320 pounds. And I just flip off the bike. I had a huge gash on my knee. I had to. They ended up calling. I think his name Mitch Kepi. He was a freshman offensive lineman in my class. They called him. He had a big truck. They came and picked up Jordan's moped, and then George Kittle, Mike Malloy, and I think it was like maybe one other person like in the room. They all took me to the hospital, and they just sat in the hospital room with me while they checked my knee. I had to get surgery. I had to get like a surgery cleaning. It wasn't like I didn't tear nothing, but I had to get surgery cleaning on my knee. And I could remember,
that's a hell of a start.
It's the first summer. I didn't even play yet. And I just remember I'm just in the hospital. Like, I remember I didn't get to tell my mom what happened because it happened so fast. I crashed. I'm like, what? I'm looking at my hands, make sure nothing messed up. And I see the big gash. They recorded my knee. They called it. Dude picked me up, whatever. We get to the hospital. George get me in there, whatever. And we sit. I'm in the bed. They check my knee. And once they check my knee, it was like, we got to sedate you. They sedated me. I'm under. I didn't get to tell my mom nothing. I get out of the thing. And I guess they, now I'm getting texts from my mom and she like hearing what's going on. And I just remember I was like, I'll wake up. It'd be like the doctor, go to sleep. I wake up, Parker like in this room with me, and he just like kind of looking at me. And I go to sleep, wake up, and it's like, it was like that type vibe.
Okay.
And then, so I had to rehab. I was on that treatment plan, which is crazy at Iowa. Like you got to wake up early. It's a regimen.
Got to be there at 5, 6 a.m. every day before everybody. All that.
Yeah, it's a whole different regimen. So
it's different.
So from the jump, I had that regimen. But luckily, I had my senior today appointed me as like my senior person was Micah Hyde. So that was like a good person to like, have as like, a senior like mentor.
Definitely. Yeah, Micah Ewen. Yeah, Micah came in kind of just like you. Like he didn't redshirt, he played, but his freshman year was that 09 year. So like he was coming in spelling dudes, and I think he ended up I don't think he started that year, but he played like significant snaps and all that. And then obviously you know the player he still he about to go in a year 8 or 9 Pro Bowl player. So my freshman year I played nickel dime with Micah and BJ, and I think like Castile was also in that rotation. We didn't have a good year at all, so I also played a lot. Like, but I played. Yeah, I was about to say 2012. Y'all went. That was the first year. It was like
I think we went 4-8. Yeah, 4-8. But but from the jump, I played like the first drive of the defense. I was already like on the nickel, But basically that year was like balling and rehabbing because just my knee just was like it was different from just having something, from being like perfectly healthy to like having something that you got to like be mindful of. And then my sophomore year, I'm like, all right, well, let's go even harder. So we went hard, and I still ended up falling into that same nickel dime role, then subbing in like depending on the situation at the main base defense on base D. And
2013 was that the year y'all played LSU?
That was the LSU game. So
that's when they had OBJ and Landry.
Yeah. So then actually going into that LSU camp, BJ was the starting corner on the one side, and he ended up having to get BJ Lauer. He ended up having to get his meniscus surgery on his meniscus, which a couple of seniors had to do. So because they didn't know if he was gonna play or not, like I was starting like going into the LSU bowl game, and like I think right before we went down, or like soon as we got down there, it was either right before we went down, like a day before or something. I went up for a pass with Smitty, and we came down. I hit my knee, like going into the bowl game, and tore my PCL 50%. And like I didn't even get to play. They shot cortisone on my knee. I didn't even get to play in the game. Okay. So that's how my sophomore year ended. And I'm just like, all right, like I'm pretty much like the first injury was my fault. But then the football injury is kind of like, dang, I'm kind of at that point. It's kind of like, dang, I feel like I'm like, I don't know,
like injury prone. Like what was you thinking in your head? Like you can't stay away from injuries, or
I'm thinking injury prone. I'm thinking like I feel like that was like kind of like after a while I'm like, dang, I'm kind of like coming off as injury prone, and that has never been the case for me. I feel like I always been somebody that's just like I'm always available,
Right.
Like I'm never like so. But it just for whatever reason, it's just the cards was being dealt to me.
Yeah, and football guys, man, you just never know.
Yeah, and I think ultimately I feel like it was really just growing up though. I feel like I needed to grow up a little bit more. Like now in hindsight, and at that time I didn't know what I was just like. It just was depression and sad. And I was just like, man, like I feel like things keep getting good, then they get bad, then they get good, then they get bad.
Right, and it's like this your dream. This our dream. Like when shit don't go how you wanted to go or what you envisioned it, how it to go? Like, yeah, of course you're gonna be depressed, sad. What do you know? All those emotions.
Yeah. So then shoot, the next semester, going into spring ball, going into my junior year, Parker made me the starter. He like named me the starter. But at the time, mind you, I didn't know my PCL was 50% torn though. I just thought it was a sprain or something bad. I knew something was bad, something was messed up with it, but I didn't actually know what it was exactly. It wasn't really like explained to me in depth. So when they named me the starter my spring ball, the first practice I'm like starting, and literally the first week of practice, my knee just swelled up like a balloon. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And Parker like, man, you got to get it checked out. So I went to get it checked out. The doctor's like, oh, good thing. Like it's 25% torn now. It's 50%. I'm like, dang, like what? I didn't even know I had it, whatever it is. But that's a different story from the other day. But I'm just like, I was like, what? Like, I don't know. It was kind of in my mind, like whatever. Like, and then like I toughed it out, finished the spring ball, whatever, in a competition thing. And then that summer came about and I felt like my wheels got back. For whatever reason, it felt like everything got better. I felt like I could run.
You never got your PCL fixed or anything?
No, I didn't get no surgery. They just tell you just got to strengthen the muscle around it, whatever. So I just like, stay on my shit. Yeah, so I just had to stay on my treatment and just get right, and that's that summer. I feel like I got my wheels back. I felt good. I felt like a lot of people. There's a lot of people going down that I was in competition with, like out of the cornerbacks. So I was like doing
2014. Was that the year that Desmond came, or he came 2015?
No, he came my second year. He came 2013. So going into that sophomore year, I guess that was a challenge. I guess I took out. I didn't say. So that going into that sophomore year, way before the PCL injury, it was BJ, it was Lomax, it was me, it was Desmond, and I think it was Reese Fleming. And Greg Maven he was playing safety. He wasn't even playing corner at the time. So he wasn't in that competition. But basically, Desmond was the freshman. So he was doing like threes and stuff like that, like threes, sometimes twos reps. And then everybody else was doing like twos and ones, trading off on that. And then when the first game came, like it was Lowe and BJ as the starters at corner, which I kind of knew because like the whole time when I would have my meetings with the coach, they would just say like, yeah, like one of the reasons why we're not like too confident in like starting you, even though you've been like playing as a freshman all the way, and having so many reps, like out of like, all the young guys, is because like we don't really know if you like really know the playbook, like it's like the mental thing, whatever. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like I can't really like attest to that because like honestly, I feel like I am, like in my mind, I'm like, I feel like I actually am learning like right now. So I really I respected BJ Lowry a lot, and I respected Lomax a lot. I would just like gladly like always ask them questions and they would answer them, and and just help me on that end. So when the first game came around, Lomax got hurt in the first half and BJ got hurt in the first half. And but when I forgot who went down first, it probably was Lowe first went down. It was supposed to be in my mind, I'm like, it's supposed to be me next, you know what I mean? But I'm like, I'm not gonna say nothing. So Parker like, yeah, like he pulled me and Desmond. He like, yeah, Desmond's gonna go in first. And then if he messes up, you go in. I'm like, okay, like whatever, like it is what it is. So then Des go in, and at first I'm like, all right, like, am I just waiting for this dude to mess up? Because I don't think that's how, like, like it's my teammate. I don't think I'm really supposed to be like trying to bank on him to mess up, like, you know what I mean? So I'm just like on the side. I'm kind of on the side, like I don't really know how to feel right now. Like,
No, it's crazy, bro. I went through the same thing, and obviously, a lot of Hawkeye fans listen to this podcast, but a lot of Hawkeye fans don't know this, bro. But in 2009, we played Arizona, our third game. So we beat Northern Iowa barely by field goal. We blocked the kick, and then Iowa State, we blew them out. But we didn't play well on defense. Like the defensive line didn't play well.
Yeah.
So I remember going into the Arizona game, they had a squad. They had Nick Foles was the quarterback.
Yeah.
Brooks Reed, AD was crazy. They had a bunch of dudes on defense. And I remember my defensive line coach telling me, like, because Adrian Claiborne at the time, the first two games, he didn't play that well in 2009.
Yeah.
Nobody really knew him.
Yeah.
But he told me, like, this Arizona game, if he don't play well in the first series, like you gonna go in the second series, because I graded out better than Adrian versus Iowa State the game before.
Yeah.
but that Arizona game ended up being Adrian like coming out party. The first series, instead of not balling, he like had like 2 TFLs. He went off.
Yeah.
And then just the whole game, I ended up playing against some snaps, but he ended up going off that game. Like it was an ABC
Yeah.
3:30 game, and he went off, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's crazy that like you kind of had the same thing with Desmond. He ended up being an All-American.
Yeah.
So
But
that
but
series, did he play well or did he mess
but that's
up?
what I'm about to tell you. That's what I'm about to tell you. Des, like he actually like in that game he didn't do bad, but he didn't like that was not his coming out party at all. Like that wasn't. This is like early freshman Des. This ain't no like you know like he was always talented, but like that wasn't like his coming out party. But like it was but the reason why like this story like it kind of like so like he goes in first. He's like if he messes up like you go in. I'm like okay cool whatever. Like I don't really know how to feel about that, but I'm like all right I gotta just wait and like see what's going on because like I mean I've been playing so like I'm gonna get in at some point anyway. Yeah. But then literally like the next series BJ goes down like he can't play no more. So at that point my sophomore year me and Desmond we had to finish the whole game. I think it was Northern Illinois or something like that. Okay. Yeah. So me and him. So at that point it wasn't like it wasn't that. So then then the next game BJ came back and Lomax I guess he was just out or like out for a while or whatever and
So then it was Desmond. So
then it became then it became like, all right, is it gonna be you or Des? Like gonna be, you know, whatever it is. But then he was like, all right, we're gonna keep Desmond in on that side because that's the side that he was already on where Lomax was. He's like, but if he messes up or like something, whatever, it's still like kind of like in the air. And I think I think we ended up playing like a smaller school and Des got scored on. It wasn't like he didn't really like have like a good game, but it was kind of like one of those situations where it's like he's so young. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like you gotta let him keep rocking. Like you can't, you know. So for me, like me and Des, like I like as it pertained to football and stuff like that, and just that whole DB core period, like we was always in competition. Like it was like they always made it a competition thing, and like I always played. At the end of the day, I always whether it was nickel, dime, whatever, or 40, whatever. At some point, I always played. So like I was never like really disgruntled, and I feel like as like us being all around the same age, I feel like we was like real supportive. So like when Des messed, like I didn't want to see Des mess up. I didn't want to like, you know what I mean? It was like it was a weird, you know, it was like one of them things where it's like I want to play. Trust me, I want to play.
Right,
but
I ain't still cool with dude.
But I know him. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I know him. And then also like we in this environment, this like I said, we Black. It ain't really like a comfortable. You know what I mean? So like you don't really want to see nobody like go through no hard time. You know what I mean? So me and him was just like super supportive, and like even though second game wasn't whatever, then it was like from there that's when I felt like he started catching his like after it was like the third, fourth game he started catching his stride with, and it, you know, and he still wasn't like the peak of his eye or whatever, but he was catching stride and you could see it, you know. Yeah, so then from there I went back into my nickel, dime, you know, that role, whatever, and then I would get in like on 40 here and there, but then like I said, then I said I was supposed to start LSU, going into LSU. Well, I was starting going into like with the bowl prep, and then got hurt, PCL tear. And then the juniors going into junior year, it was competition, whatever, like legs swelled up, but I'm still competing, whatever, still, you know, trying to like do my thing. I'm doing my thing, like whatever. I think my spring game was probably the best performance, like out of the whole spring ball. And then camp came around, my wheels was back up under me. I'm doing 1s, 2s, and 3s reps at times just because everybody just kept going down that camp. And then I actually got named, like I think I ended up getting named like the 4th corner on the roster or something. I wasn't like I was basically like at somewhere like further down than I was my first and second year, like going into my junior year. Going to my junior year, and I was feeling great. Like it was like I was doing 1s, 2s, and 3s reps. I'm getting all these reps, so obviously I'm making most plays, but also like you gonna have probably the most mistakes. So that was like one of the things that was like, yeah, when I called, I'm like, what's going on? Like I'm not in the same position I was in my freshman and sophomore year, and like you know, like I feel like I've been taking all the reps. I'm doing 1s, 2s, 3s. Like I'm not even. I'm showing in my mind. I'm thinking I'm showing y'all endurance right now, and then I'm like whatever. And I'm making. I think I had the most picks in that camp. I was blocking field goals, but like when I spoke to him, he was like, yeah, but you also had the most mistakes. I'm like, yeah, you know, in my mind, I'm still kind of, and I'm like, I don't know. In my mind, I'm kind of like, I don't know if this is my ego or my pride, but I'm just like, I feel like obviously I'm gonna have the most mistakes and I'm getting the most reps in my mind. That's what I'm thinking. But I'm just like, all right, cool. I made the most mistakes. It's definitely mistakes. So I gotta learn from that, whatever. But I had but during that time period, because of the injuries and because of, my freshman and sophomore year having like weird injuries, and then this happened, and like once I'm like starting to like get my groove, I felt like I just went through a depression period, and I just like I stopped leaving my room. I was like I would go to classes and stuff, but like I had like a night class, and like I don't know, it was like a weird period. It was a weird time during that junior year, like that started junior year, where like I was just sad, like I don't know, I was just like I wasn't really eating like that. I lost, and it got to one point where like I just lost like 10 pounds in a week, because I just wasn't really paying attention to it like that. And and instead of them being mad at me or whatever, like Coach Ferentz and Doyle was just asking me like what was am I okay, and just trying to see like what was up with me. And I remember I just telling him like, yeah, I don't want to be here. Like I want to go home and like figure something out with my family. Like I feel like
so you told Ferentz and Doyle that?
Yeah, I told Ferentz straight up, like at a practice, I was like, yeah, I don't want to be here no more. Like I just don't feel like this is like for me no more. I feel like and then it wasn't, and then like obviously the depression thing was like with the football, like that was like a big piece of like my life at that time. But I think like also that's, stuff going.
That's it. That is your life.
Yeah, that's my life. So then, but then there's also stuff at home too. Like it's always gonna be stuff at home. But because it's stuff at home and the stuff and what I'm supposed to be doing ain't falling into place, it kind of felt like I was just like
if the football was going more towards how you thought it was gonna go, you could probably tough through it. Or
I feel like I could have toughed it. I could have managed it, but I feel like because like I felt like it wasn't. I feel like I went through I had a dark time.
That make it even worse. Yeah, that make it worse.
Yeah, and I feel like in college, like a lot, like majority of my college, like I was like in a real dark place, just mentally, and just like it's like I didn't really like I wasn't enjoying football. I wasn't enjoying like life the same at a certain point. And I remember when I explained that.
I can attest to that, bro.
Yeah. So I remember when I explained that to Ferentz and Doyle, and then eventually like Parker, like I remember when I was saying I wanted to just leave, whatever, they eventually like Parker was just like, and all of them was just like, yeah, like we just want you to like meet with a therapist and like just like try to like, figure that, like, like whatever, work through it. In my mind, I'm like, man, that's not about to work. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm gonna talk to, I think the lady was Kelly, but in my mind, like she super nice lady. Let me just say that. Super nice lady. But in my mind, just like, she not gonna be able to relate to me, dude. Like the stuff that's going on in my life, the things I'm seeing. Like I seen the prom king at DeVille. Like we had a block party. I seen him die right in front of, like, you know what I mean, like in front of us, like just like whatever. It was like, it was stuff going on at home and just things that like, and then and on top of the football, I'm like, there's no way possible this lady gonna understand like where my mental space is. Like I and I feel like it started being a lot of stuff that like I didn't even pay attention to, like when I was growing up, like the struggles and stuff that just like, they was still around. It got worse. Because like I didn't have no where to channel it and whatever to sort all my mental. I feel like it just felt like it was like starting to just like weigh on me, and like I was having suicidal thoughts. Yeah, I was out of it. I was like, I was done with it. But then I started meeting with the therapist, and we was meeting like once or twice a week. And at first it was weird, it was awkward. Like I didn't really have much to say. And then she would be like, write down like the good things that happened in the day and the bad things. And when we meet again, I want you to read it out to me. Man, I had like a million bad things. I had nothing good. I had nothing good to say. I'm just like, and she was like, okay, well, new homework. She's like, don't write anything bad, right?
Only good.
One thing good. Like think of one thing. It don't have to be nothing crazy. It could just be like you had some good food or something. Like just write one thing. And I'm like, all right. So then I started doing that. And then obviously throughout the day you had to start thinking like, dang, like what is good? Like ain't nothing good. Like in my mind, like ain't nothing good, but like what's good? Right. I'm trying to think of what's good. And I think trying to think of what's good is good in a way. But then when I got to the next session, she was just like, she was asking me like about my family and my mom, my brothers. And I was telling her about like my family and stuff. And she was like, yeah, I noticed the only time you ever smile is whenever you speak about your family. Maybe you should like contact them more, because it seems like you haven't really been like reaching out to them. Because for me, it's like, I'm going through it. So like, I'm not trying to put extra stress on my family, because, whatever, I don't know what they had going on at the time. So, and I feel like normally I'm like the person, I'm not really complaining like that. I just like, I'm quiet. I just keep it to myself, and I just try to like figure it out. So I started reaching out to my mom. Like she was like, yeah, you don't have to tell him what's going on with you. You can just talk to him, just call him and talk to him, and like, let me know what you guys talked about in our next session. And I would just like start calling my mom more and my brothers. And like, we would just talk about life. And most of the time I call my mom, she would just talk. Most of the time I just listen to her. And I ain't gonna lie, it made me like,
better. Yeah.
It made me better on that end. And then from there, like Kelly, the therapist, she would start coming into practices, and I'm not gonna lie to you, like I just started like falling. It was like at practice, I just felt like I just had a different. Once I started talking to my family more, I felt like I just had like a different wind and appreciation toward life, and I just realized I was like, man, this football stuff, this ain't my life. Like it's my life, but it ain't everything. Like my family.
Everything,
My family is everything, you know, like where I'm from, and you know, people who like love me. That's my all.
That's
like
real.
as long as we straight, like I'm straight. So so that's that's how I started approaching it, and like it started showing on the field. Like that's when I caught my first pick, or like my only pick at Iowa, and it was like I just was having like I was just in a different zone that the rest of that junior year. It's like whenever I got in, I made a play. I felt good. I would do a little, you know, celebrate. We're not supposed to celebrate, but I'd get excited, and it felt like I was getting like every time something good would happen when I was in the game, pick or pass, breakup, tackle, anything, I would just get chills right after, and it's just like because like I could just remember me like wanting to kill, you know what I mean, wanting to jump off the bridge on Iowa or something, like, you know what I mean. It was like that type feel. And then so fast forward going into my senior year, like I said, I had already had a tight bond with like my freshman class, and then like the class above me, like the Jordan Canzeri, Lomax, Jake Hilly, all those guys that was older than me. They're red-shirted, and we ended up being in the same senior class. I feel like we all was like tight, you know what I mean? Just because like I lived in the house with them, you know. Jordan was my host, you know. Like my class would hang out together all the time. And even when I was like one of the only freshmen playing, and my whole class red, and most of my whole entire class red-shirted, like I was never like weird to my freshman class. Like I was always like you know, like we were always
treated them normal.
We was always tight. So like when I would have my hardships, I felt like in the locker room, a lot of the players still like mess with me just because you know, because I never gave them no weird stuff. So it was always like a genuine like thing. So that's why I said, so that senior year Rose Bowl, I think that all came about just because we were just all so tight. I feel like everybody was like, we didn't have no issue like grinding.
Yeah, that close knit.
We competed so early on that by the time it was my senior year, it was like us competing. It ain't even like, this is just what we do, and it's like nobody got no hard feelings towards nobody. It's like nobody like wishing bad on nobody. We just all support each other, and we all cheer for when people did good. You know what I mean? If somebody did bad, we just correct them. It wasn't like nobody was trying to isolate nobody. And I feel like that's why we ultimately won like every game that regular season, and then ended up in the Big Ten championship and the Rose Bowl, just because of like we weren't afraid to like we were closer. You know, like it was a tight situation.
That's how we were in 2009 too, and that always, you know, relates to winning. But I'm super glad that you were able to, you know, find the light, you know what I mean? Find the light in that darkness, man, because that shit is real, man. I didn't have any dark moments probably until after college, like revisiting all the bullshit that I went through, the verbal abuse, just all the weird stuff some of them coaches there you would say to you, like, and you know how Iowa used to be, you couldn't wear earrings, no hats, and all that kind of stuff. They didn't know our culture, they didn't understand our culture. Us going there, we had to conform, and so that's why I'm glad that a lot of those guys came out with their stories and they changed some things within the program. And now a lot of the guys that I hear from, you know, it's changed. It's a more balanced culture in that building than what we're used to.
For sure.
yeah, man.
So I was about to say, in my senior year, actually going into my senior year, I don't know if I mentioned it before. I think I mentioned it before, but like it was like me, Jalil, Damon Bullock. We like going to like meet at Cavante and Carl or somehow. They was just having people over like for drinks or something, and we were supposed to be meeting them there, and we ended up getting pulled over by the police, and they ended up pulling guns out and had the K9 search us.
I remember that. Jalil tweeted about that experience. When all those guys was coming out about their stories and everything.
And they put me in. I was the only one got put in cuffs because I was like talking. I was just like, what are y'all doing? Like, there's so many people getting killed. Like y'all really gonna pull guns out on us? We are Iowa football players, this and that. They weren't trying to hear it. They tried to put me out the car. I put my hand on the door, yanked the door open, broke the doorknob, put me in handcuffs, put me in the back, searched the whole car, looking for drugs. We had bottles in there in the car. They didn't even like care about the bottles. They just like, we want drugs, I guess, whatever. Didn't find any drugs. And then afterwards, the police apologized, like, yeah, we didn't know you guys were hawks. this and that. Like, but we're gonna have
But
to
you
charge
say, but you say y'all was saying something. Y'all was telling them that.
I was saying, I was like,
Yeah.
check my wallet. I'm just talking. Like, I was scared. So I was just saying everything, just trying to like not die.
Right.
And like, they weren't trying to hear it until like after they didn't get whatever they was looking for. And then they apologized, but it was like, yeah, we still had to charge you with police interference, put your hand on the door when the police officer tried to put you out. I'm like, I was scared. It was a reaction thing, whatever. So that whole thing went down. And George Kittle, his dad is a lawyer, and he actually like went to my court cases and got that charge. Like, it was like police interference. He just got that like out the way from my senior year. And then on the football side, like actually like I was actually like we were figuring like all of the cornerbacks, we were all like so close in age by the time my senior year came that like Parker trusted all of us to play. Like, he was like, yeah, all of you can be starters. And basically like going into it was the camp right before the first game, like the week right before the first game during camp, or 2 weeks before the first game. Like at the end of practice, I ended up pulling my hamstring. But luckily, like I said, because of like therapy and like going through that time period, that dark time prior to my senior year, being pulled over by the police, me pulling my hamstring. Like, I feel like at that point, I was like, I'm not going down the dark hole again. Like, we're gonna do. I had healthy habits on like how to stay away from that.
Right. You want to stay on that healthy path.
Yeah. So when all that happened, I was just like, you know what, this is just what it is. Like, I'm gonna learn from both of these situations. And so then I tried to rush back in my first game, my senior year. Like, first play I got in, pulled my hamstring again because I just tried to rush back. And then I ended up missing the Iowa State game. That's the only game I didn't like suit up, whatever, while I was at Iowa. And then after the Iowa State game, my senior year, I just accepted like a special teams, like a kickoff role. And I think I had probably three tackles that year, just on kickoff alone. And then for me, I was pretty much, I enjoyed just being a part and just like, you know, supportive of like my teammates that year. And it was such an amazing year that it was like I was just happy to like in the moment, you know.
Did that would you say that did anything to your confidence? Because like you said, you're a 21-year-old college senior. You know that you're like an elite athlete, super fast, super quick. You're respected by all your teammates, and then coming back, you had all these injuries, all this turbulence. You went through all this turbulence from your freshman year to your senior year, to have your senior year be a part of that Rose Bowl team, but to kind of have like a diminished role if you compare it to your
first three.
Sophomore. Yeah, like did that do anything to your ego, your confidence, or because y'all did go to the Rose Bowl and won so many games, you just rode that way?
Yeah, so like I said, so since I played, like that role being just on kickoff and compared to like the first three, like obviously I had some reps on defense and I, you know, whatever, but it was like I was mainly just a kickoff guy. And I knew what it was. It's like I got hurt, and at that point, it's like I was almost out the door, really. So it's right. For me, I think that year it was Josh Jackson like kind of stepped into my nickel and dime role, and he was young. So
2015 was the transfer portal out yet or no? Not yet.
No, none of that was out yet. None of that.
I was about to say because
I didn't. So at that time during that Iowa
team,
I didn't have. I could have transferred. I could.
Because you know somebody in your position now, like that. Yeah, they could have like set the rest of that year out, and then since you didn't register, they could have used that rest of the year transfer and then played somewhere else for a whole other year. And that's the thing that we missed.
Out of all of my years,
we missed the transfer portal.
Yeah, honestly, out of all of my years, I should have done that, like redshirted at least, like my injuries. You know what I mean? Like I could have like probably redshirted and like took a year just to like get my body right, you know, instead of like going back in the years. And actually, like some of the strength staff used to ask me, they would be like, "Yeah, why you never transferred?" And I was like, honestly, I feel like and this is like post like therapy. I was like, I feel like I've built connections here with like, you know, my like teammates, just like, you know, and you know, the people around here. They're like, I feel like, you know, it's bigger than, you know, just trying to like get on the field at this point. And I feel like I got to a point where like I overcame a mental block that like I overcame a mental hurdle that I feel like was probably the biggest accomplishment out of that whole time I was at Iowa. Like no football, no, like the biggest thing that I got from the Iowa thing was going to therapy and like, you know, working on my mental. And I feel like from there, that was, you know, I people still to this day, it's like we're real like tight, like family. And, I enjoyed that part of it. And for me, going to my senior year, taking a smaller role, instead of me looking at it like getting mad or getting upset, like I really, that was honestly my favorite year out of the whole. I took like a mentor role. It was like I was like a senior, and it was like, like younger DBs, and all, like I was able to just be like just a senior, like somebody that they people could
guys to come to
talk to when they going
question.
through stuff. It was younger dudes that was going through stuff that like I didn't already went over that hurdle, like mentally.
Right.
So
right.
like seeing people on the other end of that, like I kind of sympathize for that, and I feel like that was one of the reasons why I was like, I don't really want to jump ship, because it's like I know that like you said at the time also there's other stuff going on that's like or like ain't really like whatever, or it ain't really comfortable for like for like Black people. So it's like at that time just like I would rather just be of help, or like
be that
moral,
leader guy,
or at least moral help, for like other people. And then obviously like the year was like amazing, and it was like good, and it was just felt good seeing people that like I knew and was like really tight with, like actually like get like noticed like on a national like stage. And I was pretty much done with football. So like I knew after the year ended, I was like I'm gonna retire. I was like, I'm done. Like it's nothing else after this. Like
so you had already accepted that in your head.
I accepted in my brain. I'm like, this is. I was like, this
that's
is great.
Real though. That's real though, because a lot of guys, struggle with that, like accepting that pill, swallowing that pill, and then figuring out, what they're gonna do next. But for you, it's kind of like a catch-22, because you put in your mind that you were done with football, but then this X League opportunity come up, and then now look at you, 6 years later, you still playing.
Which is weird to me, because I like you said, like you had your mental battles after you left, and I think that's normal. I think a lot of people is like, once college ends and they had a whatever, I feel like that's when they start having a mental whatever with football. They separation with football, whereas like I was slowly having that separation happening to me the whole time I was in college, from the start, from the first summer. Like it was like after the first summer, I was like, like hopefully I'm good. Hopefully this don't mess up my like the way I play. And it didn't, to like some degree, like it maybe had a little bit of like whatever, but it wasn't like too noticeable my freshman year. And then like my sophomore year, like when I tore my PCL, I'm just kind of like, oh man, like this might be it. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know what just happened to my knee. I ain't never felt nothing like this. So I had to have contemplating thoughts at that moment. And I was like going through like a mental whatever, trying to figure out what my life would be like outside of football, at that time. And then, and then it swelled up again that spring. So it was like, I'm still having that same world. And then I get to my junior year and they put me in a lower, like originally before the first game, I was in a lower part on the depth chart, but obviously I worked myself back in just cause like I just approached it differently. And like, I'm being talented and approaching like it from like more of a humble and like having therapy and like really viewing everything differently. Like I feel like it gave me more opportunities on the field, because like I wasn't viewing it the same as I was before. And then like I said, once I got over that hurdle, like through therapy and stuff, I feel like that's when I was kind of like, all right, like I'm seeing the world differently, whatever. I'm just going to approach it how I approach it. And, however the ending of this ends, that's just how it's meant to be. And I was feeling good. Football was working and it felt great. But then I pulled my hamstring like real bad. That's the first time I ever pulled my hamstring. And then I pulled it again right in the first game. And literally, I just remember I got in the first play I got in on defense, the first game my senior year, it pulled. Dude didn't even really run a route. It was like they ran something and and the play stopped and it pulled. And I just like looked to the sideline and I seen Josh Jackson. And I was just like, hey, come on, come get me. Like it's over. And then from there, it's like he just had my role. And it was just like at that point, it's like, I'm not gonna be like, like trying to force my way back in. At that point, I had already like accepted and like, yeah, this is just what it is. I'm gonna support him. I'm gonna support all the other players around, and then for me, like I need to try to figure out what I can get before I leave. Like if I start going to job fairs, and I was going to like, certain things to like try to figure out my next plan for after football. And in my senior year, like, so went to the Rose Bowl, so it was amazing. And I'm just like, that's a great ending. In my mind, I'm like, this is a great ending. Definitely. All right, we lost really bad. That part wasn't great. But But the fact that the whole
Christian
experience
McCaffrey put y'all on the highlight.
Oh yeah, they put it on the highlight, but the whole experience of it, I was like, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's the granddaddy of them all, bro. Like
Man.
I remember so many years waking up on January 1st, growing up, and like couldn't wait, like sitting on the couch with excitement, couldn't wait to watch the Rose Bowl. Like, then here you are from Cleveland, Ohio, like playing in it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I'm seeing it. You know what I mean? Like I said, the game wasn't like it was an ugly game on our end, but like just the whole experience of it felt good. And I came to terms and I'm like,
you got that jersey with the rose on there, bro. Like, nobody can take that away from you. Like, you have that experience.
It was beautiful. They can never take it away. All the stuff that happened during the bowl, everything. It's like you can never you can't. You know, you have to be there.
And it took me a while
to know it.
Going through depression and being in that dark space and having to do therapy and all that. Like, it took me a while to learn that and to accept it. Like you gotta. Yes, we didn't make it to the NFL. Yeah, we didn't make it to the highest level of football that we wanted to, but we still did all of this. And it's like, you still got to celebrate all of this because it's millions of dudes that just wanted to do what you did, but didn't get the chance. So it's like, once you learn the metrics of that, of how many millions of guys want to play in the Big Ten, don't even get that chance, like don't even get recruited by a Big Ten school, don't even understand what that is. Like, then that's when you start being more grateful and just understand, like, hey, it didn't work out, but I still did all this. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And at that point, I feel like I was just I was more grateful just for life. And I felt like, you know, and my life's path. And I'm like, and I'm like, and if I can try to like approach, you know, like all aspects of my life that way, then, you know, hopefully that can put me somewhere special, like regardless of football or not. And for me, like I went back home and I was taking my mom to work. And, you know, I wasn't planning on showing up to school early that next semester, my last semester of college, because I wasn't planning on training. But then I kept getting calls from, you know, all the DBs, like literally all the DBs would just hit me up and they were just like, man, you gonna go back and train? I'm like, I'm good. Hey man, just go back and train. Like, we know we know who you are and like what you can do on the field and like you special. It was like, you might as well just go do it. And then, you know, in my mind, I'm like, and it's like, yeah, like, you know, if you wouldn't have got hurt or you didn't have like whatever your history or whatever it is, like you would have did the pro day anyway. So I'm like, yeah, you're right. I would have did it anyway. So I ended up going back to school and training. And I remember I just had to talk with Coach Doyle and I was just like, yeah, like I just want to shoot my last shot, my last bullet. And then, you know, like I'm just going to train and, you know, whatever comes of it, don't, then, you know, at least I did, you know, at least I experienced that part of it. And I didn't like take myself out, you know, because I had, you know, all the trials and tribulations through that whole journey anyway. I didn't quit.
And I mean, and a program like Iowa football, all 32 teams going to be at the pro day. Like, so,
and you went to the Rose Bowl, so everyone
exactly
like it's not
like you might as well do it.
So
that's how the X League opportunity
came about, because I went back and I trained for the pro day, and like, you know, it was, you know, this is the same as like training with, you know, any other off season with like your teammates. So it was a good environment, you know, and we competed. And, you know, I ended up doing like 4.48 electronic 40, 4.39 hand time. And I just remember one of the people clocked me at 4.39 hand time, like right next to Parker. And then he was just like, yeah, like, I wish I could have did a little bit more for you or like helped you a little bit more. He was like, and we was already meeting like each week after the therapy, because he like, you know, he was just like, yeah, I just want to make sure you good, like just period, like not even just on the football, like just trying to make sure like you straight. And me and him got tight at that point. And he was just like telling me about that, like after I did a good pro day. And I remember like after I caught my last like pass on the drills, like it was like all of like, it was like 30 of my teammates. I ran in, we like jumped up, like it was like everybody was like super supportive of me. And that's why I said, like, for me, it felt like it was like really like a family situation at that point.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm cool with the results. If it's over, it's over. But then while I was doing that, like during the spring, so after I did the pro day, I got like a call from like the Browns to like do like a regional combine.
I did that too.
Yeah. So I ended up doing that. And then but around that same time while I was training for that, Parker was just like, yeah, it's some guys who play. No, this is literally all he said. He called me. I was like, I used to be training people too, like at the gym, just like on like just to get some extra work for myself, and then, you know, like also like try to get a little extra bread or something. And Parker just called me during like while I was working out. He was just like, yeah, like you want to go play in Japan? And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I didn't even think about it. I was like, hell yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Like I ain't never been nowhere.
I was gonna ask you, do you think all the moving around you did as a young kid kind of gave you that open-mindedness because let's be honest.
Yeah.
If a coach called a dude that from Cleveland, Ohio, that grew up there and say, man, you want to go play football in Japan, 9 out of 10 people gonna be like, man, nah, like they don't even want to fathom the thought of living in Kobe, Japan, or living in Tokyo, Japan.
Yeah.
But you have to have a certain open-mindedness to be like, man, hell yeah, like
because like I said, I didn't see like me growing up. Like I said, I moved a lot. I didn't travel a lot. We moved a lot. So I switched schools all the time. I switched houses all the time.
So you were used to meeting new people, seeing new
people all the time. It was just like I never had like
it was normal
to me was my brothers and my mom. I didn't have a childhood friend from like small all the way up. Like that's why I said the type who I call my childhood friends, like my closest friends, is my high school friends, like from the build, like Justin and all them. Because at that time that was the longest that I was at one school.
Yeah, like, that's the crazy dynamic. Because I'm still friends with guys that I went to like kindergarten with, like what I'm saying. So I do what you mean about that.
Yeah, so for me, it was like my closest people was Devin, Justin, all them from high school, because it's like that was the longest I was ever at one place and just stayed put in one place until I got to Iowa, and then Iowa became the longest that I was at one place. So that's why I said, like, when I met like my friends, like people, my teammates there, that's why they became like so tight to me, because like I became so attached to them.
You never had that.
Because I never had it. I never had nobody like consistently outside of my brothers and my mom. So
that's real, man. I love that. Yeah.
So when he called, and then obviously, like I told you, like Mr. Draper and my father, he's half Thai. So like, I don't know, I feel like, and then my grandmother, she was white, she was half Italian, she grew up in Cleveland, in the inner city, but she had that history of that. I've always had an interest to travel,
right.
See other things, and then I was considering Hawaii still America, but it was like it's off, it's not the mainland.
Right.
So I had already had like visions of like going somewhere for like out, whatever. And so when he said it, I was like, hell yeah. I didn't even think about it. I was like, hell yeah. Like whatever you say, like I'm like whatever. And he was like, all right, come to the office, we'll talk about it more. And came to the office. He was telling me about it. He's like, yeah, they're going to come meet you. And I met him. And then I was thinking it was just going to be like a study abroad thing. I didn't think it was going to be like, no, like them try to like, give me no money or nothing, like whatever. But it ended up being like, like a contract. It wasn't like, like it was like, you get paid if you go out here and you play well or whatever. And like not all the teams like can pay you like whatever, but like fortunately the team I went on was like pretty. It was an electronic company and it's pretty decent. But so I went out. So that came about from that, Yeah.
Like, and I remember outside looking in. Obviously we had messaged a couple times. But I'm a few years older than you. But when outside looking in, I was like super happy for you because I was like, I think that year, that was 2016. I had played arena football. I was in Des Moines, Iowa, playing for the Iowa Barnstormers. And at the time, I was like, shit, I was like 26 or 27. So like, I'm like, I knew that was my last. I had an agent with Sports Stars, the same agent that Kirksey with right now.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he was like, man, all I need is some film of you balling. And, we'll get it out there to the team. See, that was my last trip. I'm like, this is my last plan. Don't not happen. Like, I'm cool with it. So outside looking in, I'm thinking like, I thought that was like a super cool opportunity, like for you to go out there, what I'm saying? Just experience a different culture, experience a different life, and still get paid to do what you love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Ultimately, that was the biggest thing for me. And like I said, and once I got out there, it's like, that's for me, I feel like my goal, like from the Iowa experience was that I wanted to try to shoot for, 10 years or, a large chunk of years where it's like, like I proved like to myself, more than anything that like I could play this game still and, like I can take care of my body, because because of the injuries and, feeling injury prone. Like I didn't want that to like, if I'm gonna continue to do it because I felt so good doing the pro day and like taking care of my body. I was like, I'm gonna continue this. And, the first, and like I said, even, the first year I didn't know how it was going to go, but I was just like, if it, if I don't like it, I don't like it. And I won't do it again. But if I do like it, like I'm gonna try to
you still got the experience. Yeah. So just two more questions. Like I said, I think this is your 6-year plan over there. You played at Kobe and now Tokyo.
Yeah.
What would you say have been just like maybe the 2 or 3 biggest things that you've taken like from the culture like out there that you really enjoy? Because I know Japan is big on the fashion. You know, they all can dress and I can see that in you. Like you be fitted to the T. I'm big on fashion as well, but I also know like the food out there is like it's super cultured in food as well.
Yeah.
So like, what have been some things that you really that you've taken out there that you really enjoy?
I mean,
like you said, being an American, like not being from that culture.
Yeah, the main thing would be diet. Like I think in my daily lifestyle, diet, like my diet has changed so much from being out there and trying different foods. And they're not a big culture. Like physically, they're not like, you know, they like to be smaller. They eat smaller portions. I feel like it helped. Like I feel like I started seeing changes in my body, and then like I went to like I've always been fascinated in health, you know, just because that's just always been my world. So the fact that like I started seeing changes in my body, and like you can't really get certain things like that you can get in America of access. I think I just approached it. I think from being like the biggest thing is I've been able to be vegan. I've been able to be vegetarian. You know, I've been able to like, you know, tap into that world a little bit more and take care of my health from a diet standpoint. Yeah. And then also out there, like it's not as dangerous, you know, like it's not like there's no gun violence. Like it's not like, you know, it's none of that going on. So
yeah, you can walk around and breathe. You ain't gotta be like this with the PTSD and shit.
Yeah, so the PTSD that I've had that I've developed over the years of just like all of everything, like whatever. Man,
hey, all I gotta be on the swivel. Nobody can walk behind you.
It's way better. I feel way more comfortable. I feel way more safe. I feel even when I'm back in America, like I mean, obviously, I'm still aware, whatever. I'm still, I'm still protecting myself, whatever. Exactly. But when I'm in America, I feel a lot more like calm. Like I don't feel as much anxiety and as much like, that feeling that I was feeling before prior to like living overseas and like experiencing a culture where like gun violence and like, that type of stuff isn't a thing. But I'm also like learning. But I think that one of the things I'm also learning about just a bunch of different cultures, and I've been able to travel outside of Japan as well. Like I was just in London for 3 months. I got to go to Korea. I was in Hong Kong. That's I think, yeah, for real. And I, from that, it's like, and a lot of people that I know, and a lot of people don't be traveling like that. So I think I'm getting to see stuff and getting to learn about just different people and how like there's a lot of people cultures is just so different from ours. And
I'm happy for you, man. I don't know why, because I didn't do a lot of traveling growing up. Like I think I went to Florida and New York from when I was born to 18. So when I went to Iowa City, so I didn't do a lot of traveling. But ever since after college, I knew that I always wanted to just see the world. Like so as soon as I got a job, I was going to San Francisco. I was going to LA. I was going to Atlanta, I was going to Houston. I was going to Utah, just random places, New York. Like I knew I wanted to see something that wasn't Cleveland, Ohio.
No, for sure.
Right, and just see different things. And now I'm finally in a place where I can go like actually out of the country, man. So yeah, that type of stuff excites me, bro. So I'm super happy for you, man. Last thing, I know you're still actively playing, but what would you say is Sean Draper's after effect of his entire, football career? You started playing at, you said 9, so you're coming up on a 20-year relationship with football. What were some of the lessons that you learned through all that turbulence, all those injuries you had in college, like all that kind of stuff? What were some lessons that you learned that you took and you still like kind of carry with you now as you still play, as you like just try to figure life out?
I think like you talking about like as it pertains to football or just life with like
just any life lessons that you learned through football, through all the years of you playing football.
I mean the main thing that I learned is I don't know. It's a bunch of stuff that I could say. I think that playing football, like through the ups and the downs, I feel like it's you always got to be steady, like keep it like even keel,
never too high, never too low.
Never too high, never too low. Things can change, and if somebody's having success, my thing is like with competition, whether it's within your team or like versus someone else, if somebody's having success, I feel like over time, like I feel like growing up, like you kind of like in an immature mindset, I feel like you should, like people expect you to have ego or expect you to have pride towards or jealousy towards other people. But I've noticed one of the things with sports and with life is that when people are doing good and it's not you or people, you know, whether it's close to you or somebody that's an opponent, when people are doing good, like you should study that, and you should, like, you know, take the kind of appreciate it and champion it a little bit. And I feel like the more I've done that, and the more I've been able to like do that, I've noticed in my life, I've just noticed that like it's helped me a lot. Like, it's like, you know, I've been able to, instead of, you know, being like, oh, this dude doing good, and like this ain't me, so I'm just gonna like ignore it. Like, nah, like don't ignore it. Like watch it, appreciate it,
show
like,
love,
really appreciate it. And when you appreciate it, then you find like the small details and what's happening in their life that you can add to yours.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why I feel like I've been able to play in Japan for so long, you know, and, you know, be able to like, you know, continue to go back there, because they're huge on respect. They're huge on like, you know, being a good person first over everything. Because if you're not a good person, you're a baller, like they don't really want to deal with you. So I think my biggest thing was like, you know, if somebody's doing good or a team is doing good or just somebody's having some type of success, like I really like try to like embrace like their success and like really try to, you know, like learn, you know, why is this person like being successful, and not from like a you know, envious way, like from like an actual like an interested and curious way, like, you know, what are these people doing, you know, that are attributing to the success. And I feel like with football, like, probably one of the biggest things that I learned is like, you know, it's like learning from people and like and, you know,
being a sponge.
So each year, whenever somebody's like having a good year, like I dive right into their life. Like, you know, I'm like, oh, this dude cold. You know, let me see like why. Let me see why. Like, what are you doing? Okay.
Yeah, what are you doing? How you living? Yeah. What's his habits?
So
that's real. Yeah, I like that. I like that after effect, man.
Well,
yeah, best of luck to you on the rest of your career, man. One thing I've been trying to do ever since, you know, COVID started, we've lost so many people. I mean, even people like from where we're from, like you said, you lost one of your best friends. May he rest in peace. Damon, somebody that we both went to college with. He's no longer here. So something I've been trying to do is give guys flowers while they're still here, man to man, eyes to eyes. So yeah, bro, everything you've accomplished. It's funny, our careers like literally same high school, same college. So to see everything you've done, you still actively playing. I get that football bug maybe like once every 3 months when I miss it and I start looking at the pictures, looking at videos and all that. You would know what that's. You would start getting that once you're done playing too. But everything you've done, bro, all your accomplishments, all your accolades, everything you've done, you put on for our city. I just want to show you that love, bro, and give you your flowers. You know, like both here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Appreciate this conversation. Thank you for having me. And like you said,
I appreciate you joining.
Like we didn't know each other like at DeVille and like at Iowa, but I definitely appreciate like, you know, this connection that we built like after the fact. I feel like it's been like really helpful for me.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, just becoming an older guy, that's really all you want, man. You want to be able to get a game to the younger guys or the guys that's coming after you, and you know, hope that they do the same as you or better, or you know, whatever the case may be, man. So yeah, we've definitely cultivated this relationship. And man, Tokyo, Japan, I don't know how long you're gonna be out there, but that's on my bucket list.
Yeah, you gotta get out here.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so y'all season is during the fall.
Yeah, it's during the fall. We play a couple games in the spring, but the season starts in August and it ends in January. Actually, so I was playing for Elecom Kobe for 5 years. I played for Tokyo Gas last year, my 6th year, and then I actually am about to sign to a new team, or actually already signed to a new team, and it's like it's one of the top teams out there. So
this breaking news. This breaking news.
So before I was on some
what
lower
city?
What building it up. It's in Tokyo. It's in Tokyo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I heard because I've done my research and they said you're gonna visit Japan, you need to visit Tokyo.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna be in Tokyo. Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be flying back out there March 28th, joining this new team, man. You know, yeah. So whenever you're ready to come.
Like, and don't be surprised because I'll be serious about traveling. But I'm going to Colombia in 3 weeks. But I may target maybe like August or September, so I can like take in the culture and then actually like come to one of your games, just have that whole experience, man. Like,
I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you a good time, man. I know it all now. I know.
I know you've been there a while. All right, hey, so yeah, let's plan on that. Now I'm start looking at flights. But yeah, I appreciate you jumping on. And yeah, bro, we'll be in touch.
Oh yeah, appreciate it.
All right, man.
All right, bro.
Yeah, guys. So I thought that was a super powerful episode 75. If you listen to this whole episode, Sean Draper has an amazing story. He's going into year 7 in the X League over in Japan. Is in Tokyo, Japan, doing his thing. Definitely trying to get out there. you know what I mean, and take in that culture. But yeah, I thought he had a powerful story. If you've listened to this entire episode on any podcast platform, please rate us. You know, that's one of the ways that we make money is through listenership. If you watch it on YouTube, please like it, please share, please leave a comment if you have a question, you know, any Hawkeye fans or anything of that nature. Yeah, and just super happy to jump back in the fold. I had took about 3 weeks off. Actually, my only uncle, my mother's brother, Cameron Walker, actually passed away a couple of weeks ago. So just had to kind of recalibrate my brain and recalibrate what you know, my intentions and my message for the podcast, you know, why I started it. And, you know, just take some of that time to grieve and to heal and to think about some of those good times that I had with them. But yeah, we're back and running. We got 2 more interviews booked for this week. And, you know, today's only Sunday. So super happy to jump back in that fold as we continue just to tell these sports stories and allow guys and women to tell their stories who generally wouldn't be able to tell them, right? So yeah, I appreciate whoever's been rocking with us, subscribing to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. And we finally got the business infrastructure right with certain capital, business capital. So that's kind of what I've been waiting on before I wanted to start the merch. Didn't necessarily want to use my own money, wanted some kind of capital, some kind of help to put that merch in production so we could come in with the shirts and the hats for the spring. I'm super excited because I've built up a catalog to a point where, you know, I know that those people can be a starting point, all the people that have been on the show already, as far as selling merch. So super excited to keep kind of moving towards that. So yeah, so the next time, peace.
Subscribe to LeBron Daniel TV, but you already knew that, where we dig deep and find our hustle, and every single day we are better than yesterday. Subscribe.